I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressmen because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
right, and we are live, guys, for episode number 35 of Anonymous Bites Back. Here to discuss tonight, well, it was mostly going to be about all the various global uprisings taking place, and something happened today, and the cops decided they were going to come pick up Barrett Brown on some bogus shit, so we're going to get the show started off tonight talking about that. Tommy came a little bit early. So
Hey, everyone.
somebody...
Everybody want to introduce himself? You want to start it? Go down the list.
Oh, yeah, this is Tyler Durden.
Preston from Texas.
Hugo from Florida.
Edward from Mississippi.
Puck from Anon Medics.
Devin from Michigan.
All right, everybody's in here. Everybody's on. All right, so as you heard Ed speaking about, Barrett Brown was re-imprisoned for speaking to the press, in case you have not heard. This is a kind of a special episode. We are about an hour earlier tonight. Barrett Brown was re-arrested and taken into custody by BOP officials for speaking to the media. He's currently being detained by the RRM Dallas. In an email to the region, the BOP, which is the Bureau of Prison Officials, says that Barrett Brown is now at FCI, Seagoville in Texas. Barrett Brown's mother released this earlier today. So bear with me as I read this. Barrett was rearrested during routine check-in this morning and is being transferred to a BOP facility that is unknown. He has not missed a check-in over the last 5 months of his early release.
Yeah, George, we're getting some complaints that you can't hear you very well.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
That's a lot better. That's a lot better.
That's
all right.
Might want to start like that whole paragraph over there. You were really starting to fade out pretty good.
All right, my bad. All right, so this is a press release from his mother. Just to touch up for those, I apologize. He is being currently detained at FCI Seagoville in Texas. And again, from his mother. Barrett was rearrested during routine check-in this morning and is being transferred to a BOP facility that is unknown. He has not missed a check-in over the last 5 months of his early release. He has not failed any random drug test administered. He has been on home confinement status since February and has been home each and every time they called the landline at 1 to 2 a.m. for quote-unquote bed check. He believes this is only because of his refusal to get permission from Cruz to film and interview him. He has had many interviews since the early release on November 29th, both by phone and in person. Last week, Vice had a group in to film him for 2 days, and he is scheduled to be interviewed tomorrow by a group working on a documentary for PBS. Miss Louise Lujan, the BOP contact, refused to provide him with copies of program statement rules saying this is a requirement during halfway house and/or home confinement status. The forms that they finally came up with yesterday, after he had been requesting documentation for the past 2 weeks, are forms offered to media when requesting a visit with an inmate in a federal prison setting. There was never any mention of these rules during the past 4 months of his federally approved employment at D Magazine when he was working with media and involved with a range of interviews. So this is what we're dealing with today. Take it from there, guys. And girl.
Oh.
So we want to give a little background on Barrett Brown. Actually, a lot of people aren't familiar with him. I've had a few questions who Barrett Brown is. Hugo, you want to give a little background on...
Oh, I could give it a shot. You guys fill in the rest of the blanks. To me, Barrett Brown was has been a brilliant journalist and was someone that was involved in the original Stratford leak. His original crime was passing on a link, a web link, to the files, much like many of us do all the time. Imagine being arrested just for passing a link, but that was his crime. That's what they were able to get the conviction on. I think there was also a conspiracy kind of thing like that.
Well,
But
it should
nonetheless,
probably be noted that the way he shared the link wasn't, exactly how we do it, where it might like go in a paste bin and we're like, oh, look at these leaked documents. Let's take this database and have fun with it. He like wrote an article about it and then cited the leaked files like CNN does, like Fox News does, and the mainstream media does that from time to time, depending on what's leaked and what's not.
He was being a journalist.
Yes.
Exactly.
the backstory to a lot of that is they were trying to turn him to find out who else was involved. If you remember I think that whole time was the era of Sabu and others, if I recall, around the same era. But anyway, they were trying. Yeah, they were trying to get him to turn as much information as he could, and since obviously he was non-cooperative, or who knows what he knew for sure, that this was had vendetta written all over from day one. And I mentioned earlier the harassment of his family, and particularly his mother, was horrendous. The police were there all the time, searching her house with new charges, making her stand there while they tore everything up. Again, just relentless harassment until he capitulated and signed the plea agreement for, I think, around a 5-year deal.
Correct. And and a little more background on Bear Brown. For those listening, is he was due to be. There is some talk that they can only hold him till May 25th. However, because that was his original release date. However, no one's really quite sure about what's going on, because if he did break probation, then if I'm not mistaken, the original plea agreement is null and void, and he would have to do the full time or new charges.
A violation of probation is always a new charge that usually carries 2 to 5 years, depending on state.
Exactly.
Brown, federal, so it's going to be a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, Barrett Brown is a true journalist, and what's going on is a more suppression of information that is rightfully, should be shared to the public. Hugo, I know, was a huge reader of his, as was I, but I talk too much, so I'm going to turn it over to Hugo. And his articles while he was in jail, and one of my idols and mentors, Barrett Brown, because he didn't back down. He didn't stop. In the previous chat before we went live, as I said, is when they pushed, he pushed back harder. And to me,
well, I got a kick out of it. Anybody that read that stuff, sorry to interrupt, anybody that read that stuff would have to just laugh. I mean, some of it was just outrageously funny because he named names. He says, then Officer Johnson comes in and tells me I need to stand on my head, that kind of thing. And he says, I start laughing at him. He says, what are you laughing at? I said, are you kidding? Is this a movie? But it was like that type of control crap that they would try to do. That's a bad example, but it's very similar. And just the absolute lunacy of the prison environment. And, his statement was, they didn't want me to investigate the government, so they got me in federal lockup so I could investigate federal lockup. And I think that
right.
really is a great summary of what he's about. Exactly. And he's relentless.
And he continued, that was a great word. He's relentless. Go ahead.
I mean, he definitely did. He used that as an opportunity to investigate the prison industrial complex from the inside out. I mean, what better way to get a good view of what goes on in there than to go yourself? I mean, you see movies and TV shows and hear stories, but I mean, nothing really compares to actually going through that. That's for damn sure.
Well, I don't know if anybody's followed lately, but he's been writing for the Dallas, and he's been covering city council meetings of all things, and they are also hilarious. You know, about the absolute lunacy, but he sees the failure. You know, and he sees how these people that allegedly people that are supposed to represent people, how it's really only their own self-interest. And he names names and he calls them out, and he says, and I went to that place and it doesn't exist. This place that's supposedly this person keeps referencing as this wonderful thing that's been created for the people. It doesn't exist. And so, but he took that investigation to the street because he was limited as far as what he could do. He's homebound, but these city council meetings are a hoot. And even though he's writing about them, that shows the journalistic side of him that I do get a kick out of. It brings a smile to my face.
Well, he points out the flaws of the so-called democracy that so many people have bought into. And that is a dangerous voice to have, especially with someone so prominent such as himself. At least for many of us.
Well, I couldn't agree more on that. You know, it's like to segue into what's going on with Julian Assange right now. You know, it's the same exact thing. When you look at what CIA Director Pompeo is trying to do to silence Julian Assange and get him, he'll never silence WikiLeaks. That's another whole conversation. But to silence Julian and bring him up on treason
you can
charges,
take out Julian Assange, and you're not going to silence WikiLeaks. It's already
never.
self-sustaining. Like you can't cut the head off and kill the beast on that one.
Not at all. Now,
No.
Ed, you posted a phone number in the chat. I think at least a phone number and maybe an email. Can you give that to all the listeners about who to contact down in Dallas? And
oh, absolutely.
Express yourself, man. Let's get that. Oh,
yeah, it's Jeff Sessions of all people. How ironic, huh?
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack.
The guy who wants to legalize weed because they said it's related to heroin addiction. Oh my god.
Oh, listen, that's why I'm.
Blow them up. Let's blow their phones up.
No, before I was doing this, that's why I'm putting a little thing together. I think we all ought to just bomb them tomorrow. You know, we've got that thing, text resist to 50409, and with your message to your congressman, and they send faxes, you know, to a congressman. Get everybody doing that. I just think it'd be great. Just do a big action here, and you can write anything in your text. You know, anything that you want your senator to actually get a fax copy of, and if you've never signed up with them, you could just put it in a different zip code, you know, something that's Dallas area, and go from there. But
yeah, you have to do a little work for that. Yeah, Hugo, I shared that the other night. You want to repeat what that is? And I actually read what you wrote, which is great, on there, because I got such a kick out of how you put it. But do you want to repeat that again to everybody so they can write it down and exactly how that works?
yes, the website is resistbot.io, but you text 50409, you text resist, capital letters, small letters, doesn't matter, text resist to 50409, and this bot will come on and let you put your message in. They're going to ask you initially just for a zip code because they want to get the right state for your senators. The next day, they'll send a message to your representative, and for that you need an address. I use the post office address in town, okay? So I didn't give them my address. But nonetheless, if you're willing to do that, and they send a fax message, and you get a fax received verification back from them. So anyway, it's pretty cool. It's all volunteer political action. You know, it's fine. I think.
Right. And what's good about that for you're saying, oh, I don't live in Texas or I don't live in the States. Look, and I've done this for the UK for petitions, Australia, Germany. You can just all you have to do is Google, a Dallas zip code, and that's what you put in, and they'll still do it for you. So, it's not just limited to the states, and you need to you need to remember.
Well,
this.
with Barrett Brown, I mean, at the very least, this is a national issue because this is, you know, journalism under attack by the American government yet again, which is why he was arrested in the first place, and which is why he's being rearrested.
Wasn't this interview related to this? I think I was talking about this earlier. Wasn't this interview that he was going to do was related to the Stratford hack, right?
What for PBS?
Oh, was it? No, I didn't hear that. That would make a lot of sense. We'll just keep him quiet then.
Hey, check
It's their mentality.
your mics, guys. Check your mics, guys. It's getting kind of gravelly sounding. But in
Yeah,
any
it sounds like
case,
somebody's vaping full time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hugo, you got it's air conditioner.
Oh,
The damn Florida, nice Florida weather. While Hugo's fixing his air conditioner, the number to contact Jeff Sessions, his Dallas office number is 972 392 0505. His DC office phone number is 202 225 2231. So, you know, and I will be releasing this information. I'm sure Hugo's putting something together. Hugo, if you want to get the resist bot going and add you know, that in there, and we'll get some phone numbers in there. Let's let Jeff Sessions know how we feel about him suppressing freedom of the press and basically trumped up charges.
well, I think since we've got a group that's going to be in DC on May 1st, that we ought to just go by his office there and make our voice be heard.
There you go, and that's for all you you know, Texas, you know, activists down there also, John and all your crew down there. If you want to get some people together, Alvin, you too, and you know, show up their office and do what you do. You know, let your voices be heard. This is your time, and these are your you know, this is your people, and this is, you know, one more freedom they're trying to take away from us, the people.
of all the people in the world that should be standing up for the right, you know, for the First Amendment, well, you'd think it would be Republicans. And I think that shaming these guys is a very effective strategy. Shame them. You know, let them know that this is the last thing you would expect from someone like him. You know, this is one of his constituents being silenced.
Well,
You know,
Well, they've changed. I mean, they're all about Patriot Acts and NDAA now. I mean,
yeah, we
you know,
understand
both
that.
parties are.
well, the only time Republicans are concerned about free speech is when they're not allowed to spew hate speech in the streets. That's the only time they want to fight for their so-called free speech.
You know, it's a sad fact. It really is sad. Nonetheless, I don't hesitate to shame them with Constitution when I if they're not, or the Bill of
They had a
Rights when I
meltdown.
get an opportunity.
Did we lose somebody?
I'm not sure what happened there.
I don't think they dropped. I think it just cut out on them really bad. On my end, it sounded like a robot for a minute, and then it went back to normal.
Yeah.
Logos were dropping. I've seen a couple logos drop off and come back.
I'm still
Oh,
here.
Wolf's here.
And
Oh yeah,
his
Wolf's here. Hi guys.
Hey.
His logo is still up, so it looks like he just maybe lost signal down there. But you know, I guess I can't stress the importance of, you know, what, you know, not even that Barrett Brown the person necessarily as freedom of speech, and
Oh, yeah.
we see censorship, you know, nonstop across every media platform, across every paper, even with WikiLeaks, you know, and with Snowden, you know, the Washington Post, who was one of the ones who had no problem winning an award for, you know, for Snowden's releases, and then turning their backs on Snowden and telling the public that he should be arrested for speaking the truth. And these are journalists against freedom of speech.
Yes.
Sounds kind of wacky. Why would you want to censor yourself? That makes no sense.
Well, you censor the people and all their investigations. You don't censor the state-run media and the people at the top.
Right.
Well,
we
that's
talking
what
about? We sorry, I just came on. What are we talking about? Free speech?
No, we're
Yes,
talking about.
Yeah, media attacks, Barrett Brown, censorship in general.
Oh, fuck some censorship, man.
Well, yeah, his charges. Barrett Brown's original charges were like utterly ridiculous. It was like they were going to charge him for 100 years for sharing a link. You know?
What?
Right, and actually that's very similar to what Marty G is really facing. For those who don't know who Marty G is, very similar for sharing a leak, and he's being accused of the one being taken down the hospital site when all he did was share a link. So, similar charges. Not the first time. It's not the last time. Yeah.
Well, there was an incident that happened right before the raid that happened where Barrett Brown made a video. And I think it was related to this harassment that was going on, and he basically had it and said something in relation to a federal agent, pointed him out on camera, and then they came in and arrested him. If I'm correct, right?
I'm not positive about that. Hugo, if you want, hang up and try and reload it again, because we have lost you completely. Even though we have your icon here.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. So,
I'm here.
well, then, this is a full-on, suppression of speech, and if we allow them to get away with this, then you could be next. I could be next. I like to put my ego aside and say I'm not that important, that they're actually going to care about me. So, but it's still freedom for the people to speak their mind, regardless of whether we agree or disagree. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech, and no one has the right to suppress it.
Well, not even that, but if it's to the point where a journalist puts a link to something that got hacked in an article, how long is it before you're getting your door kicked in just for sharing that article on social media? You didn't even write it, but you hit that share button and now you're a target.
Right, and we saw that also. I don't know who I cut off. I apologize, but we saw that with Free Thought Project, and no offense to Free Thought Project, but for anyone who was around during Operation Icarus, Free Thought was doing a wonderful job doing press of the operation, and they ended up getting suspended by Facebook for I think a week and started a second page. It might have been a month, but they got suspended for covering Anonymous's operations, and ever since then, and I can't hold this against them because there are a lot more important issues in the world that they do cover, they will no longer do press of Anonymous.
If you remember, there was the same situation with HackRead, where they came and like, dude, these people were coming to us at one point and was like, what's the latest scoop, man? We need a new article, man. It's been about a week, it's about time to publish something on this. This is like the hottest thing on the internet right now. And then, they straight up admitted that they were told from the very top of their organization that they had to stop covering these actions that were happening involving the banks and shit.
Well, there you go, and they did. You're right. They all did stop. And that's not even just for hacking, but we're talking about every operation. Anonymous isn't getting the press coverage, and you have to ask yourself why. Someone's pushing back.
It's because we have that power, and they don't want the average person to see that. Operation Icarus was a big one. That's when the media crackdown happened. And, that was an operation where these guys were out there costing these central banks, the world banks, the elitist-run banks, several $1 million a day just from having their websites and pieces of their back end offline. I mean, it was an embarrassment to everything they stand for, really. So they definitely had to put some silence on that.
And that's what this comes.
Okay, that leads up, guys. You know where this is headed, to tell you the truth, is if you look more and more, like the hackers that have been arrested in the last couple of weeks, their primary charge is conspiracy. Whether they were actually the one doing a DDoS or whatever, it's the conspiracy that you were in the planning stage, that this was a long-term action. And they're charging them with under the RICO statute as a criminal enterprise. That's where this is headed. And I can tell you that's what the prosecutions are going to do in the future. You're going to be charged with conspiracy under the RICO Act. You're part of a criminal enterprise if 5 or more of you conspire to take down a website. And that's what they're doing.
Well, I think
And that's chilling.
Right. Well, I think you can even take it further than that, Hugo, with that. And you are correct, and I've spoken about this past in Anonymous website. I've spoken about this in the past about their plans to start putting RICO into effect for anyone who is involved with Anonymous. And it's not only just attacks, but you can look through the laws, and it could be simply, they could consider a march a riot.
Well, no, they're already pushing legislation to do that in a lot of places, Arizona being one of them, where they are looking to charge participants and organizers both under the RICO Act for protest. And right now, they're saying, any protest that we deem violent, but I mean, dude, anything could be deemed violent if you look at it the wrong way. I mean, somebody could stumble off a curb and knock a trash can over, and all of a sudden it's a group of Antifa. Like,
right. Well, they could even charge you as a dissenter. Which was a great dox going around. This person, is a government dissenter, and
you damn right I am. Guilty as charged.
Well, that's what I would laugh at. I was like, yeah, I'm proud of that. What's your point? Yes, Doc. But there were 205 of us on that were government dissenters, and it was hilarious because we're all like, okay, but the point is,
so when did it become a crime to be mad at your government, to be critical of your government?
Right, and they say a true patriot actually is critical of your government. That's what they fought for, is the right to speak back and speak about your government. But going back to the RICO Act, you could technically be charged with that, and anyone associated with you, and we'll take somebody who has 1,000 friends on their friends list, and half of them are anonymous and comment on their posts. In all technical governmental terms, you could all be charged under the RICO Act.
Well, in technical government terms, the government is committing acts on the same grounds that are actually crimes.
Right, but where's the accountability for government? See, there isn't any accountability, which is really the crux of this whole matter. There's zero accountability. Over half of the CIA's budget doesn't even fall under congressional review, for instance. Okay, they're unaccountable. So how and where and when do we get accountability back? That's why I've got this flush Congress thing going on. Till we defund them, till we get rid of every congressman except the ones that want to end this black ops, we're going to have the same problem forever until we get rid of Congress.
Right, and so if you're not familiar with that, it's hashtag Flush Congress. Started, and it's 100% correct with that. There is no accountability, and even if you look at if you want to go towards the hacking aspect of it, I think they put 85% of their budget towards offensive rather than defensive, which is why they're so easy to penetrate. They're so busy getting into every other government domain that they're not protecting themselves.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is that they're specifically not protected against attacks from the home front. So if you're coming at them with an American IP address attacking their American target, that's a lot different to their servers than per se, an attack from Singapore.
Or Switzerland, which is where if you're going to attack, Switzerland doesn't have an extradition treaty, so they really don't look at it too much.
Yeah, Singapore doesn't either. That's why I said that.
All right, there's your 2 tips of the day, folks.
Oh, you want to hear something strange, guys? I'm getting a report that somebody had shared our show, and they cannot. They get that weird message that says they cannot be viewed. That's censorship. Yeah.
Huh.
Hey
Is it
guys,
because we're talking about Barrett Brown? You know what? Do we need to start talking about the Stratford hack? Is that what needs to happen tonight? Do we need to tell
Probably.
everybody what they don't want them to know?
Yeah, good little primer.
Who's familiar with the details on that?
don't know if we should talk about that.
I'll pull some information here in a little bit, and
Well,
we'll find out what they don't want Barrett Brown to tell you, and we'll tell you instead.
Well, essentially, what was going on in Stratford is that it was a CIA front, and essentially, what this private corporation was doing, and it was government funded, was spying on U.S. citizens with government money, and it was a complete front.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Bank of America actually has people doing that too. They found out that they can make money by trolling Facebook. This is a bank now, by trolling Facebook and selling data to the government. Bank of America does that.
No.
Wow, did not know that one.
They're all in
What
on
up,
it,
guys?
man.
Me and Wolf just come in. It's Jay.
Yeah, I dropped the call. I don't know what happened there. That was weird.
It's got to be pretty hard for people to understand what's being said right now. I can barely understand any of it. It sounds like we have Darth Vader with us smoking a bong, using a bong. But
Like talking through the bong.
Maybe
That's how he got his voice like that.
connected to my lungs. So I breathe through a bomb.
I don't know how Jermaine. I don't know how germane going back to Stratford and those leaks are, because there's so many more since then that have just absolutely turned the security world upside down. But I think Stratford was the first one where they found out that the U.S. government was paying. Remember, they always said we don't spy on American citizens. Well, it turned out that we learned that was false. I think that was the revelation from that hack. That we learned about. Go ahead.
Oh no! I was just going to give it a little more. I was going to give a little background. It was actually, it was a public disclosure of internal emails from the global intelligence company of Stratford, employees of his clients, which were referred to WikiLeaks, and that was in 2012, around that period. So you're right around that period. Around Sabu was 2011, so. Right around that whole thing and get people to switch sides and all that bullshit.
Exactly.
Wasn't Sabu the one? Oh, I'm getting some bad echo.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah.
Hello, ping, echo.
That's better.
All right,
Yeah,
wasn't Sabu the one who gave the zero-day exploits to Jeremy, right? And he got them from the FBI.
Correct.
So essentially, I think what they don't want you to know is that the FBI hacked Stratford.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Exactly.
Right, and then WikiLeaks, as again, for all those people who don't know what WikiLeaks do, WikiLeaks said they did get it from anonymous hackers who happened to, penetrate the internal servings of the FBI, CIA. So, if you ever want to get information in there, Edward Snowden's back up with what he used to communicate with, and you can find that. Give you that link in a second here. What is that, live?
See, Stratford was most famous for denying that we got the client list was revealed, so they revealed the client list. After they denied that the hack was effective. So they had egg on their face a couple times during that whole deal.
Wasn't there? I remember hearing some weird story and about some retaliation after the Stratford hack. On that, supposedly somebody from this company said that they had hacked one of the IRCs, which was the main communication for it.
I don't remember.
Am I right?
You talking about a Stratford IRC?
Somebody there, I don't know. I remember hearing this on like some documentary video, but it's been a while.
Remember, the hackers recovered the client list plus the credit card information after the company originally denied that they'd been hacked, and that Anonymous donated millions to charities using those stolen credit cards. That was the real beef of it. That was the dual embarrassment. Anyway.
Oh, you mean the Robin Hood? Wasn't that like you talking about the Robin Hood hack where they?
Yeah, they did a Robin Hood thing.
That was the Robin Hood hack.
Yeah, they stole some FBI agents' credit cards for Christmas and donated it to charity.
Yeah, you did.
That pretty much happens every year if everybody pays attention.
That wasn't me.
Right, they posted about 50,000 credit cards, and with instructions to please donate to charity. So God knows what. But Hammond was sentenced for 10 years for this attack, and of course Sabu had a role in the whole thing. It's all one and the same.
Yeah.
So the leaks showed a lot of things because of the communication through the emails of the people that worked for this company, and some of the things that I'm seeing here that it showed was that the Pakistanis knew Bin Laden's location like the whole time. The U.S. government had a sealed indictment on Julian Assange. It revealed this interesting story where prior to Georgia's war with Russia, the Georgians had bought UAVs from Israel, and then Israel traded the data links to Russia in exchange for codes to Iran's Russian-made Tor M1 missile launchers.
There you go.
So this just like exposed like all kind of dirty shit. So you could only imagine why anyone talking about this had to be a target.
Right. Well, also in the Stratford leaks, it talked about the assassination of Gaddafi from Libya. It also talked about the planned overthrow and assassination of Syria's president Bashar. It talked about how Netanyahu from Israel was a main source for Stratford.
Imagine that.
It basically tied every conspiracy theorist wet dream together. Sorry.
That's one way.
You absolutely got it right, because I'm reading here actually. Amy Goodman, who wrote for The Guardian at that time, said that it pictured Stratford as a runaway rogue private intelligence firm with close ties to government intelligence and corporate and military clients. The research I've been doing the last month proves that the CIA has spied on corporations to influence purchases. Like Boeing got a contract instead of Airbus based on CIA-provided intelligence, for instance. It's been proven.
Right.
So anyway, Stratford was...
Same with Blackwater and the Stratford.
On and on, yeah.
Yeah, and Blackwater had a relationship with Stratford, and if you don't know who Blackwater was, they provide security for Iraq, which Halliburton, very well connected.
Private security. Yeah, private security firm. A pretty word for mercenaries.
Right, and Blackwater is related to the Secretary of Education's appointment. So you can see how all of this ties in, and for any, I lost signal again. Did I lose it? No. For anyone who pays attention to this and think Trump is innocent in all this, just look at, go back to the Stratford, look at the tie between the education secretary, the Blackwater firm, Netanyahu. And if you want to talk about what happened last night in Israel bombing Damascus, and
Oh, did they? See, I didn't even hear about that. I've been caught up with so much other shit.
Yeah, it happened. I forget what happened. United States time. I think it was between 2:30 and 6:30 United States time. I forget, but and this is my running theory. I was working on a piece. I haven't released it yet because I got caught up in some bullshit earlier today. But that Trump hit Syria. He is bad-mouthing Iran in order to give Israel the green light to do basically whatever they want.
Right.
And that includes going after Iran. We've been pretty quiet about Iran lately. They really don't cause any issues. They just kind of do their thing. And now all of a sudden you have Trump bashing Iran.
Well, that's because Iran doesn't want war with anyone. Iran doesn't have all these global beefs with everybody. They're just minding Iran's business and doing Iran shit. But they're about to get drug into everything because they have a mutual defense agreement with Syria. And I mean, I'm surprised they haven't already jumped in that war and started blasting U.S. boats out of the fucking water over there.
Well, I think, guys, it goes much bigger than that. As you know, I'm writing a big article on that whole military petroleum complex, I'm calling it. And if you look at it from the Russian satellite countries after the split of the Soviet Union to the Persian Gulf and Wesley Clark's admission that he heard from the CIA that there were 7 countries they were going to take down. Iran is the last on the list, okay? And when I saw the other day our Attorney General saying that Iran, or our Secretary of State saying that has not lived up to its agreements for guns, they're already beating the war drum and see any way this is going to stop unless we the people hit the streets and stop this shit and say we've had enough. It's got to stop now because it's nothing but owning the Persian Gulf. They have North Africa. They've got every country in the region all the way to the Eastern Bloc. You know, that whole Bosnian base or that whole Balkan basin. The CIA starting crap in there now in Macedonia. That's where that trans-Afghan pipeline is supposed to go. It all goes back. This is just the same strategy, different president.
I mean, this is going on since like at least the 80s with, the Afghanistan and Soviet war. Moved on to Bill Clinton with Kosovo, Bosnia, Kuwait.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just been, the last 30, 40 years of,
about 40 years.
Playing fucking risk in the Middle East.
Right, about since JFK, Ed, you're right on that. And if you look at what they bombed last night, they bombed Iranian, where they said Iran was storing weapons, and that was Israel. And that's a perfect reason.
They said Iran was storing weapons in Syria.
Yes, they were back. That was what they.
You know what? That's about as dumb as Assad gassing his own people when he's winning the war.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Where are they stealing where's the biggest battle going on? Where's the biggest chance to get these weapons stolen? Syria. Let's hide them there. I mean, do they just think these people in power are just complete fucking... I mean, I know our people in power in America are complete fucking idiots, but do they think that the rest of the world has people in power that are as stupid as they are? Because I guarantee you, we have the dumbest politicians out there.
That's a pretty good...
It's relative. I mean,
I'd say a majority of the world's, everybody in politics around the world is just about the same, if not worse.
I don't know. I would say America pretty much takes the cake. Like, they've got a lot of... They might have some brutal piece of shit dictators out there, but they're fucking smart. And you can't deny them that. You can't be a brutal dictator without being smart.
I don't think the words brutal and smart refers to Donald Trump, though.
Oh, no. Neither one of them. We might see him get our police force pretty brutal, but there'll never be anything intelligent coming from Donald Trump. We don't have to worry about that.
Narcissistic
and rich.
So dig, you start digging.
Quite.
And it was interesting that you didn't see anything about the bombing in Syria today. In Damascus. It was quiet.
That's because Israel did it. Nobody needs to get anybody mad at Israel. Who owns the media? You think they're
Right,
going to
well,
tattle on themselves?
Right, and that's my theory with what the U.S. is setting up is they bombed Syria, and all of a sudden the people stood up and said, no, we don't want to bomb Syria. They're like, okay, so give Israel the green light to do it. And we're going to give Israel the green light to hit Iran, and now they can drag Iran in, and then we have a reason to go after Iran also. Therefore,
Because somebody's going to retaliate against Israel sooner or later.
So therefore, you have your 7 countries that were mentioned way back when, all part of the organization they want, whether it's the central banking system, whether it's the oil cartel. You can put on whatever term you want, but the fact of the matter is they want control of every country and every nation.
Well, every bit of this is part of the Greater Israel Project.
Yeah, big time.
Rothschild Zionism.
Donnie can tell you about some Greater Israel Project. Let me see if I can find this map real quick, and I'll actually throw it up on the live stream.
Hey, you know, ISIS apologized for accidentally attacking the IDF the other day.
Wait, ISIS accidentally attacked the IDF?
Yeah, well, they apologized for it, though.
Yeah, I did see that, Preston.
My bad, guys. Didn't know it was you.
ISIS and apologizing just doesn't go in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Can't imagine it.
Sorry if any of our Mossad brothers got hit. So sorry.
Mossad brothers. That's for
well,
damn sure.
That's what's interesting about this. Like actually the Islamics and the Israelis, they're on the same page on this one. This is a war against the Christians. It might be a war against themselves later, but for now, you know, it's about getting rid of Christians, taking over some countries, destabilization. You know.
Yeah, definitely destabilization.
That's always the plan. Yeah, that part of it. I mean, we've been spreading democracy, i.e., destabilization, for a long time now. You know, this love bombing.
When it comes to ISIS, there's a lot more to it. They believe that they are the caliphate, and this is some holy mission that they're on. Yeah, they actually believe that.
They want to destroy all religion. That's what they want to do. That's the main goal, is to destroy religion.
Well, no, they want to fulfill the prophecy in the Torah, is what they want to do, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
Is to if they can fulfill all the prophecies, and I believe there's only one prophecy left. I'm not positive on this. If anybody has information, please correct me. But I believe there's only one prophecy left, and that is the 7th, which is what they're trying to fulfill right now, which would be World War III.
Well, Damascus. It's
not only that,
it's in the Quran, but the Damascus is supposed to be
destroyed.
Well, something like that.
A barren
Well,
seed.
not only that, but one of the main goals is to redraw the entire map of the Middle East and set new borders for everything. And I don't know if any of you guys can like actually pull up and look at the stream and have seen the map that I've got here, but this is pretty much what they're aiming for. And you know, you can see here that like Iraq is you know, substantially smaller on losing territory, especially in the north. We have this whole new country of free Kurdistan. Saudi Arabia gets completely redrawn. Jordan gets a shitload more territory, but you know, those guys are complying pretty good with what's going on. I mean, you've got, you know, everything just completely redone in the Middle East, and this is the plan that they're shooting for. And you know, you don't just come in and redraw borders, man. You got to have some serious fucking wars to get that done.
Yep. That's a good map, Zed. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, the Promised Land, encapsulates some of the Levant. You know, that's what they're going for here. I mean, this is the Jews, I think, believe, you know, on one side that they're going to win this. The Islamics think they're going to win it, you know, with their prophecies. You know, I mean, I don't know, but one thing's for sure, that they're going to battle over it. As soon as they get rid of these Christians and get everything lined up, that's what's going to happen.
Well,
Israel
that
wants
is
more
that
land.
is what they're exterminating for the large part in the Middle East. I mean, ISIS isn't out there killing Jews. ISIS is out there killing the scale of the Muslims that are
Yeah.
not extreme and pushing this extreme Wahhabist, and they're taking out the Christians.
So ISIS works for Israel, for the Jews.
Oh, most definitely. It was a
Yeah.
collaboration between Mossad and the CIA to get that whole thing set up from the get-go.
Yeah.
Sick. Interesting.
So the answer to survival is being atheist.
Yeah. And you won't go to heaven or hell, huh?
Or a non-denominational spiritual, or what just a spiritual person. All encompassing,
Bloody hell,
right?
we got Igor Spengler in the room.
Not like that. The spiritualist.
Well, going back to this policy of going after the press. I mean, this is the same thing. Me being militia. I mean, Pete, you got Pete Santilli in jail, no pretrial release, no bail. He's been in jail over almost a year and a half now. He was associated with the Oregon standoff. You got another one, Gary Hunt out of California, that was covering things. He actually got, between FOIA requests and probably slip discovery, he was able to out a lot of informants. Now the government's going after him. They had him on a contempt of court here a couple of weeks ago. So it doesn't matter what kind of activist you are, Anon, militia, you're getting hit. Black Lives Matter, you're all in the roundup of the usual suspects, right? Who the government doesn't like. So it's apolitical in a way. It's against everybody. Anybody that's against the government, doesn't matter what side, you're the enemy.
Right, and that is, Preston, that's a really good point you just brought up there. I know we get a lot of Anon listeners, but I think we also get a lot of other people, that just like to tune in. And, for me, I know when I'm not on, I'll put it on the background, put my headphones in. My wife will watch her shows. And right now, she's
George, you're away from the mic, I think.
Sorry, she's addicted to Orange is the New Black right now, so I'll put my headphones in and she'll watch that, and I'll watch her laugh, and I'll just listen to you guys and do my research. But my point is what you brought up, Preston, is this is exactly why all activists should be joined together, whether it's 3%, whether it's BLM, even whether it's Trump supporters and the alt-right, the alt-left, because we all know that the government is screwed up, and we may disagree on it being broken versus it was set up this way, but we all agree that change is necessary. And so, when you talk about what you're disputing and what you're fighting about, why don't you look at what you can agree on and unify behind the one voice that not just the U.S. government, but the world governments right now have one goal, and that is to keep you silent, keep you quiet, and keep you a slave.
Yeah. Keep you asleep. And they want to keep us asleep. They want us to
obedient.
basically work 9 to 5 and not have a say, not have a mind. Basically just listen to everything they tell you. Fuck, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you. Rage Against the Machine lyrics. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Well, that's what they're telling you. I mean, that's how outrageous it is. On one side, they'll show you the document that's supposed to be your rights, and then everywhere else,
Supposed to be.
Yeah, everywhere else it's a continuation of government concern, and your activism is getting in the way of that. Like they have some concern about you now. Well, that's too bad. I mean, that's no concern of yours at all. But they've lost their way. That's all there is to it. I mean, they're all wound up in.
They don't like the fact that we're waking a lot of people up now. There's a lot of people waking.
That's a big problem to the control system.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, you represent.
That's why World War III has to happen to try and stop us from going out of control. Because A lot of people are waking now.
That's what they're going to do. If they ever
Too many.
feel that they're losing control, they're just going to get rid of you,
That's
because
what
then
they're
it's
doing.
then
That's
it's
what they're
over.
going to do World War III.
Then it's over for them.
It's going to be a lot of us going to die.
You represent an existential threat to them by complaining about their behavior. That's really all it is. I mean, it becomes conspiracy to all these other things, but and it's a conspiracy charge because they can't actually convict you with a crime because you haven't really done anything wrong.
Yeah.
So it has to be a conspiracy. It's.
Looks like Terrence joined us. Hey, Terrence, good to have you. But and that brings up a good point also, Preston. It's time that everybody joins. And we can start on May 1st, and it's certainly not just one time a year or twice a year. But we do need to get into the streets and start voicing your opinion. Not just get there one day a week, but actually stay there. Start camping out. There are some camps up and down. Again, follow Jelly Hayes to follow that. I know we're going to have another No Dapple episode shortly, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll keep you up to date with that. But going back to May 1st, get out in the streets. If you can only take the day off, because I understand you have bills and everything like that. Then get out in the streets, but make your voice heard. As Ed said, they're going down to DC, and maybe I'll run into Ed down there. I don't know where I'll be. It's about time that you get off and social media, and you get out and do something about it. Not that
Well, I mean, that's what gets results. Look at these countries that are putting 100,000 people in the streets, 1 million people in the streets, and then when you have 1 million people in front of your highest level of government building in the country, and they're all pissed, you're gonna start to change a couple of the things you do. It's just, it's only natural that you got to keep the pitchforks and torches at bay.
Ed, if I give you a picture, can you put it up for me?
Yeah, let me message you so you send it to the right profile. I've got like 3 of them that are banned right now, or like in Facebook jail or whatever.
I noticed that.
I can put it into ABB chat. Would that help?
Here, send to that one.
But while they're talking about that in chat,
Sweet.
I would like everybody to ask themselves, all the listeners out there, what is it going to take for you to get into the streets? Does it have to get to the extent of Venezuela where people are starving and basically brutalizing each other just to feed? Is it going to take the government giving you a number on which day you can shop, which day you can't shop? Is it going to take vouchers on what you can buy and cannot buy?
Or do you want it to get as bad as Kashmir, where they're censoring the internet right now?
So that they can kill you in the streets to keep you from overthrowing them.
Well, I mean, even here, they're censoring our internet pretty well. I mean, if there's a government on the planet right now, they're censoring your internet in one way or another.
Hey, Terrence, introduce yourself,
no doubt.
Terrence.
Oh yeah, I'm Terrence Daniels from STR, kind of a reoccurring guest. Thanks for having me on the show, of course.
Reoccurring guest, man. You're a panel member now.
Oh, do I get a vote? Do I get a vote?
At what point do you go from a guest to a panel member?
When you're on every show, almost.
There you go, Ed.
But Terrence is right. There's internet, going down everywhere. We talked about last episode. Loki, I think, will be joining us again later today to talk more about Kashmir and the internet going down there. Switching public DNSs to your quad H or 8, your double H, double 4s, changing your DNSs to make sure you get out of countries. Terrence, you can probably talk more about that since you helped so much with Standing Rock.
Well, I mean, even we're kind of in a bubble. You don't really notice how much you're being censored until you leave. and you kind of like if you travel around a little bit, you can put your page and proxy in and put and open up another browser and put your same page up, and what people are able to see, what people are able to share, what your Google searches come up with, what you have access to as far as web pages and all of that, all changes by what country or region you're in. And some of it's pretty obvious. Now, when we were in Vietnam and Thailand and all of that, they're kind of open about, we don't want you using social media or Facebook, all that. Now, everybody in Vietnam uses social media, but as far as the government's concerned, it's illegal, and they do try to censor it as much as possible, even if it's not normally enforced. Now, like in the Western world, you don't normally notice that your friends in Germany are not seeing your posts in America and vice versa. Especially if you have, a couple of friends here or there, you don't, unless you have the pages next to each other, you don't notice. Same with your search results. So I would advise everyone every once in a while to just like check yourself out and see what other people in other countries are seeing of your page, and they never match up to them.
Well, just look at the fact of like when you're trying to search for somebody, and it'll be like, their name, and you have like 20 mutual friends, but you type it into Facebook and then you get all these people that is not them, and you have no mutuals, and like they don't live anywhere near, like you can type in like a country or a city or a state, and you're just, man, some people you're just not going to find until you get that link.
Well, it just doesn't pop up, whatever algorithms they're using, to do the searches, their names, people they don't want you to connect to. Look, these aren't, I think everybody here knows, these aren't hard things to control, right? In fact, they're pretty easy. Chances are for a lot of the ISPs that are out there, they're not even doing it themselves. They're being told what to do. This is the software that you'll use. These are the places that those people can connect to, but we don't see any of that kind of behind the scenes. It seems like it's normal internet. And that's the key to any of these programs, right, is to make it seem like you have a choice, like you're getting real news, like you're connected to the world. It only works, especially now when people are looking around for the truth, if it seems like you're getting the truth. It's like if you go to the store, you have the illusion of choice, right? You're happy because it seems like you have a choice. All these different places.
You got Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, all these
poison or poison.
But all made by the same companies. And if you go like a level even farther, if they're not like owned by the same companies, those companies are all getting their chemicals and the stuff that they make the products from one company, right? So
but the company that owns those companies, that all of them are buying the chemicals from, it's all owned by like the same small group of people. You can trace it back because like everything's owned by shell companies, then dummy corporations, and then ultimately all that shit's owned by some large mega corporation that's owned by one of these small elite families.
Yeah, like they all kind of trace back. It's like I think we were talking about it the other night. How many steps? What is it? How many steps? Like 5 degrees away from Kevin Bacon. It's like 5 degrees away from Monsanto or the international banking system, right? How many steps does it come back to get to those same like group of companies?
The media cartel, the banksters, the oilsters, the Monsanto, and the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, that's the groups that run it.
You can go on YouTube, go check out some of the videos of like how it seems like the news, your local news is kind of, is just for your area. But then when you watch these videos, they're saying the same things over and over and over and over. Like,
yeah, I used some clips of that in a video I did about media control, and it's stupid shit. Where it's like a slow news day, like the whole country will have a slow news day, and they're all saying the same fucking thing in every city.
the exact same thing. You know, they change out the people so that it seems like you have a choice. Like somehow that's different than the production news that they've got on the other side of the country, but it's the exact same news, the exact same words. They just change the faces by whatever demographic that's going to sell them the most pharmaceuticals.
All about ratings.
Well, and advertising too. I mean, if they
Yeah,
got,
it's not really about
you
the
know,
ratings. It's about the advertising.
it's advertising
Ratings
driven.
do- Yeah, the ratings just have to do, look, if we can get enough people to watch this show, then when we have a Pepsi commercial, that's the most people that can do it. But it's not like we kind of want it to be the opposite, that like the advertisers are there for, you know, because it's a good show. No. They make a good show so that they can advertise and make money off of it. The advertisements are why they're there, not the TV shows at all. They could give a shit about the TV shows. And you can tell, like, by how they've slowly, you're down to what? You know, 10 minutes of an actual show in between 15 minutes of commercials?
Well, you at the same time, you have a company like MSNBC who will purposely, they're driving their leftist agenda, and they don't even give a shit about their numbers. They're making money. GE gets paid, you know, with taxpayer money, whether MSNBC makes any money or not. So, you know, they all they care about is drive an agenda. You know, they drive away people from viewing because it's so outrageous.
Well, and
Well,
as far as
any mainstream news company goes, that's really what's going on. They have, you know, they have your right, your left, and then your quote unquote awake news, like your Alex Jones and Young Turk and shit like that. That's really just bogus corporate crap to keep you in that first level of the matrix when you wake up. But I mean, they're all pushing an agenda to keep you on that path of slavery.
Right, it's brainwashed. Sitting there stuck in front of the TV all day. It's sunny outside. You got family sitting.
You know, they
TVs.
got the Democrats, oh fuck Trump, and they got the Republicans, full fuck Clinton.
Well, and that's one of the things that makes Trump, like it or not, such a great candidate for the news media. If you hate Donald Trump, right, there's people that are watching the news constantly looking for searches, all of that, for all of the things that they, you know, dislike him about. He's making those companies money, right? If you're the left, right, you're the Clinton campaign or whatever, every time Trump opened his mouth, right, you've got a front page headline, right? If you're the far right, every time he opens his mouth, right, you guys watch him to, you know, to give him high five, clap, you know, good job on rounding up all the brown people, right? It works to both sides' advantage. No matter which side that you're on, he's making you money at this moment, right? And that's something that people need to look at. I'd look at probably a lot of the people that are still, when they show the numbers of like Fox News and NBC, half of the people that are watching them because they hate them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's called.
Yeah.
It's actually has a name, and it has a name. It's called the Stern Effect.
It's called what? You got really bad echo.
Yeah, you got a horrible echo, bro.
I do. Is that better?
Yeah, last time.
All right, I think that's better.
Yeah, you're better now. You're good.
Yeah, but that's the Howard Stern effect, and that's exactly what Trump has. Is people listen to see what he'll say next. You don't have to like him, but you do want to hear what he has to say next, either to laugh, to mock, or to support.
Or to be critical of. I mean, there's people out there that are watching his every move just like, oh, you know, how can I spin what he just said to my advantage to get more people pissed at him?
Well, and he's not one of those things. It's not like a sore joint, right? Ignoring him, it's not going to make it go away. That's going to make it worse. So you're caught in this like double-edged sword where we're like, look, okay, guys, we're just not gonna mention him, and maybe he'll just find something else to do. That's not the case either. If we don't expose what's going on, they'll continue on the line that they're going. But it is something like it is. They picked him for that reason, right? The people that are in charge, they don't care whether Clinton or Trump won. It doesn't matter to them. They're gonna make money either way. But that's one of the reasons that he makes a good he's a moneymaker, and just that you can hang off of every word that he says, one way or the other. You're either going to be so pissed off that you're making the money, or you're going to be so excited that you're making the money. So we have to find a way to get around that completely. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to get away from corporate news to begin with, like all the way gone. We got to just quit using it. We don't need it anymore.
But yeah, it's kind of morphed from corporate news to, state-run media, fascist news now. It's like it's not even totally corporate driven. It's this biased.
I mean, it's beyond
political,
state run. It's outright, elite run, and it ties into this globalist agenda and the propaganda needed to slowly nudge us along this path to a one world government.
Well, I mean, that's the deal. It really has to do with propaganda. I mean, that's their number one job right now, is to either, focus you on things that you really that really aren't important, or to, focus you away from things that really are important. But it is just a propaganda game. And the same old propaganda, right? You should be scared that somebody that's different from you is going to take your job.
The others are coming. The others are always coming.
we need as much money as possible for.
You got to keep the money in circulation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the problem. What's the solution? When I'm out there in the rest of the world, because I don't watch that fucking media that all you guys talk about. I don't have a TV. I don't want a TV. If I want to see it, I can go to Facebook to an anonymous group and watch MSM. Okay, because it's posted all the time.
I got Netflix.
All right, it's embarrassing. Period.
It really is. Thank you for saying that.
There's some progressive Democrats, some progressive socialists out there that are absolutely sick that Hillary was nominated, okay? That like Bernie better, that whatever. But these people have voices, and they're on the right track, and they're actually believe 99% of the idea, okay? And these people are in droves and zillions, and none of them are wearing a mask, or very few, and they have voices. Why the hell aren't we broadcasting these wonderfully written editorials and stuff that I post a lot of them, every time I find one of these people that have just a brilliant, Caitlin Johnstone, for instance, writes for, I don't know what the hell the name of her magazine is. She's surrounded by leftist Democrats who are sick, absolutely sick to their stomach of what's happened. Well, this is our opportunity right now to enter this dialogue and join forces with these people, build coalitions, get people on the streets. There's a lot of mad people out there that don't give a flying fuck about corporate profits and one world governments and shadow conspiracies. All they want is fucking food, water, and shelter and a decent job and decent hours, okay? This is our message that we need to be, that we can put an end to this if we get rid of the damn Congress, if we quit supporting the black ops, if we cut off the money to the CIA. That only happens by getting rid of Congress. Go to the root. Why the hell are we treating symptoms? You can go throw sandwiches out of the fucking car window all the rest of your life, and you're going to feed a guy for a few minutes, but you're not going to solve the problem. You've got to cut the root. We got to get the focus back on the people in this country. That's the message. Okay.
Right, Hugo, but Hugo, you brought up a good point again, and we talked about this when you were on your little hiatus there. And how do we convince people that to get in the streets and make the small sacrifices and stop being slaves?
Well, I mean, it takes us just doing it. I mean, there's no easy way to join into a revolution than to actually do it. And I mean, if you've seen, I think you're right. This is the time, the place, and the moment for us to take over. But our opponents are doing everything that they can to undermine that. If you have a word misspelled in a paper that you're putting out to expose something, the whole thing's fake news and not exactly.
The whole focus becomes your misspelled word.
Yeah, and not like what's actually going on, and that's.
Well, I mean, they do large scale manipulations of your thinking like that, like how, that was a little bit of a far-fetched example. You have one misspelled word and the whole thing is fake news. I mean, it's kind of to that point though, but look what happened with everything that was actually in Hillary Clinton's emails. Like all her emails were leaked. Remember, you can go read
and leaked,
60
not hacked,
fucking
right? But that's
60
was
fucking
so
thousand of them.
that you fired him, right? And then tried to replace him with another person. He released all of your personal fucking emails. We have to be real, we have to make sure to say that over and over again. When it comes to the Hillary Clinton
Hey guys,
email,
this effort is working though.
yeah,
Did you ever think we'd have a?
it wasn't a hack at all, right? You pissed somebody off and they released your emails.
Well, now he's dead. The guy that released him is dead.
Right,
But,
but my
no, the
point
point
is,
I was trying to get at with that real quick was like the content of those emails shows all kind of things. It exposes elite, protected, and government-run child and human trafficking. It exposes how Hillary Clinton and her organization were the terrorist masterminds behind the Benghazi attacks. I mean, so much other shit, all their exploitation of Haiti and the charity fraud down there. Like, all of this is in these emails, but the only thing that ever hit the mainstream media and the debates, that really right there should show you that Trump is not on any of the people's sides, because he went with the media's attack. It was about her mishandling state secrets, her running a private server for her government emails. Nobody wants to touch what the fuck those emails were about. And what the content of those emails,
It's all criminal, though. All
it's
criminal.
very criminal, of the most highest organized crime level on a global scale. I mean, this shows
Guys,
that the Clinton
let's look for a
organization
minute.
is.
It's something that's
go ahead.
To interrupt you for a second, but look at the other ones. Forget that. Even if you don't even look at Haiti and alleged child trafficking and all that, look at the content of the other stuff. Look at where it actually said that by supporting Syrian rebels, we can affect regime change in Syria. It's in an email from Hillary, okay? And you start looking at the matters of the State Department tactics that they were using, and it's absolutely everything that a conspiracy person ever thought was going to happen is in those emails. Without going to any conspiracy, it's absolutely right there. Her taking $25 million from the worst women's rights record country in the world, Saudi Arabia, for instance. Saudi Arabia being put on the Women's Rights Council at the UN the other day after a secret vote behind closed doors, after many countries objected. It just shows you the power the United States government has over this to force their agenda on not only us, but foreign countries. That's before we get to the IMF and World Bank and all the other stuff, the way they control developing countries. In those emails, and I've read a zillion of them, it's just a stunning amount of material that damns everything they do. I don't care how the emails got there, whether she used a private server or anything. Let's talk about the revelations in emails,
See that right there,
not how
that
we
right
got
there
them.
though is the point that I wanted to make with bringing that up is you're right. It's not about the fact that she used a private server, but that is the only thing.
It is.
That any investigation is about, any news article is about, or any mainstream media coverage, and they refuse to even look at the content of those emails, which exposes a whole rainbow of government corruption from top to bottom.
Well, and it's something that's always really bothered me about now we can get into the specifics of all of it, but in 20 or 60,000 emails, right? Not one single email made you look like a good person. Like in 20,000 emails, even horrible people,
Zero.
one that you could pick out and be like, okay, they're not like a baby eating lizard person from another dimension. But in her case,
Show me a trace of humanity, yeah.
right, there is not one single email that you looked. There wasn't even. Hey, I had it was a beautiful day thinking about you, Bill. Not a single fucking email made her look like a good person, and that is almost unbelievable. Even I don't like Trump not one little bit, and I think he wants to bone his daughter, but. Right, I'm sure at least he sent one email that made him seem like a good day. Hey, I hope you're having a good. I hope you're having a good. Not a single email that she sent.
Which
made her look like
Which
a good
takes us
person.
back to Assange. Think about it for a second. With Julian Assange, they're going after the messenger, not the content of those leaks. Those are leaks. He no more directed that leak to telling Snowden what to look for than the man in the moon. It was originally leaked, if you remember, right, to Glenn Greenwald, who got a hold of WikiLeaks. Okay, let's be clear. And there are some fine publications out there. The Intercept is top of my list for investigative journalism. That whole crew there is doing a wonderful job exposing this. More and more, I am seeing, and I am hopeful that we're seeing that people are starting to grasp exactly what has occurred from these leaks. It's beyond now talking about the messenger. They're going, the U.S. is a goddamn criminal enterprise, and they're not just messing with the U.S. or bombing these other countries. They're spying on the whole damn world, and they've been caught. Yep. You know what I mean?
Well,
I mean the other day
that's especially that's what's mind blowing about all of it is that the things that they're exposing. It's like the monitoring of every electronic message interaction that everybody in the U.S. has, American citizens, right? We can argue all day on whether it's illegal or legal to spy on other countries, but as far as U.S. citizens are concerned, that was 100% illegal, and that's what they exposed, but yet you want to charge him with exposing your illegal operation? That just doesn't make any sense.
Right, and see, but now the New York Times and Washington Post are on the hot seat because if they charge Julian Assange, they have to go after the Times and the Post and the 25 other organizations that release this information. Okay, they really have to. And if they go after one journalist, they have to go after all of them. And most important to note is after 1 million documents over these years have been released, not one has had to be retracted, and not one of them has ever suffered a rebuttal from any government agency. None, not one. That's a pretty good track record of just shows the veracity of those documents, that they were accurate. So now, why don't we talk about the damn documents and when I wrote a thing about that the other day. Let's talk about policy. How do we change policy in this country? Because that's really what should be on the front burner at MSM. Our government policy and the lack of accountability.
Argued on here on the vote or not to vote problem, because the only way for us to get some of those, and it's something that we fuck ourselves every time. The far right, they vote in droves, and we're stuck here saying, well, you can't vote for the system. Look, if you don't want racist-ass, corporate-driven senators and government officials, you're going to have to vote for ones that aren't. There's no getting around.
And I said it the whole time. Yeah, how in the hell do we get rid of them without voting? There
was a I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with a guy. He wrote a lot of books. You ever heard of The Fate of Empires, Survival Guide? It was written around the turn of the century.
No.
Do you know the author's name?
Sir Arthur something like that.
Conan Doyle, maybe?
No. Yeah, something like that, and essentially, what we're seeing here in in America is, we're falling into what's known as the last phase, where everything crumbles, and a lot of systems fail because of corruption, lack of sense of duty, and a love of money, and there's always this conclusion that he's come to, and he's studied a bunch of civilizations and empires, is that it has to be completely obliterated and rebuilt again.
Well, and to some people, it will more than seem like their world is coming to an end. Look, if you were a wealthy slave-owning family, right, at the end of that era, it seemed like the world was coming to an end for you. I'm sorry. Too bad, right? So it's one of those, from the perspective of the people, you don't have to burn down the offices and turn everything over. Just quit hiring these assholes. Right, like we go to the furthest extreme. Every single one of our states has a vote coming up, right? We need to be organizing to get these assholes not elected again. And if we let the other side show up in droves and vote 100% every time, right? Then we're never going to win. Your march on Friday is worthless if you're not voting on Monday.
It's hard to convince a lot of these people to vote against some of these because they have you know, they might not be in line with a lot of the racist and oppressive and fascist values that they're actually promoting in office, but they do a handful of things that appeals to the more moderate right. And, you know, that's where they're getting a lot of their support to actually get an office, is these moderate right side that they have
Right, you're
convinced
right
that they're
about
just
that. I
these
mean,
good people. And, you know, they're never going to vote against them because, you know, that'll put the boogeyman in, the Democrats, who's going to, you know, do all
never's a
these
long
things
time,
that
and that's our job to inform people about what's really going on. This is our opportunity right now. The public in general is calling and seeing that the media has betrayed them. Number one, we have an opportunity to inform them of the truth. Number two, there's like little things going on right now where they influence the vote. Do you know that the B-2 bomber is built in 48 states? So that the senators in those states can't vote against the military appropriation of it because each state got a piece of the pie, okay? So if they vote against appropriation for the B-2, they're voting against jobs and against patriotism. This is the strategy that they use. This is why Congress needs to be flushed completely. This is just, it's like gerrymandering. It's the way they control the vote. But for all these morons that said, don't vote, you're participating in this system, fuck them, they had it all wrong. The only way to get rid of them is to vote them out of office by informing the people what's really happening to their country. Do you realize that each one of us is in debt $68,000 this moment? Every American, man, woman, child, $68,000. That's our national debt. And it's unsustainable. It will fail. And this empire has to be rebuilt. And it has to start with grassroots efforts. And I see it out there happening.
Certain things that they've managed to take over, especially, you know, you mentioned patriotism. We really have to take back what that word actually means.
Right. Amen.
Right? Not let them, at the moment you have it in your mind, wait, I have to go to the other side of the world and murder people to be a patriot? What the fuck is that?
Oh,
Right?
well, now they have you. Well, now they have you convinced that you can be a patriot right here at home by standing between people who want to protest the government and the government.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you want to be a
Well, yeah, you got to
patriot,
keep your
grow a garden.
leftists in line.
You know, there's
It's not just your free speech.
You want to be a patriot, start growing your own food. You want to be a patriot, stand up against Monsanto. You want to be a patriot, stand up against the corporations that are sending our children off to other countries to die for a small amount of profit, right? That's being a patriot. Rounding up your fellow citizens, that ain't being a fucking patriot, right?
And I say again, you know,
that's what they... No, go ahead.
It's exactly, our Congress is for sale to the highest bidder, period. We got to get the money out of Washington. The Citizens United thing was the big turning point to give the Republicans charge of this Congress and ultimately the presidency. Citizens United allowed unlimited donations from corporations. Essentially, our Congress is for sale. And you look at these whores, the John McCain making $22 million last year just from arms dealers, and look at the pharmaceutical whores and the insurance company whores and the banking whores. It's unlimited. It's
I don't know if that's really fair to hookers, guys. Like,
yeah, I know it actually demeans the Red Holders profession.
Yeah, like if I had my choice, yeah, I just can't. I can't. The thing that's mind blowing, and it's kind of what we focused on in this message tonight, is what is it going to take? Everything that we've mentioned here is completely out in the open, right? It's not conspiracy theory. It's not hidden behind closed doors, right? This is like common knowledge. It's so common knowledge they can't even censor it. Right. So at what point, when you know that these people are lying to you and don't have your best interest in mind, at what point do you stand up and vote their asses out of office?
Well, you don't, because
I think
the system
when we
is
get
not
the
made for
people
you.
to the street. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you don't, because it's a corporate party that's always going to give you these corporate company men. You can vote all day long and it's never going to change anything.
Oh, no, you almost, but I mean, when it comes to that, you know, if you only have their choices, right? If you can only vote for the two people that they put or the one person they put in front of you, yeah, you're fucked, right? But when you...
Well, who cares about the president?
When you do have a person, and I'm not talking about third party, you know, I'm not talking about those kind of politics, especially, you know, at local and congressional levels, right? You need to vote the people that they're telling you shouldn't be in there, right? The people that are in wanting to invest in green energy, the people that do want to invest in our education. This may be a person that is relatively unknown, right? He's not going to have a long history in government because, well, you look how fucking corrupt this is. You can't exist in that situation and have been in government for long periods of time, right? If you're working there right now, you've been tainted by that corruption in one way or another. So, you have to really look for, you've got a guy that, you'll look for somewhere that he's going to be relatively unknown or she's going to be relatively unknown. Vote for that person. Vote outside of the bubble, of the people that they'll tell you can vote for. No.
Well, I would say the congressional races are the most important without regard to the president. We absolutely, the only way to do it is to get term limits or turn this Congress over.
Yeah.
One of the things they do is when they get a new senator in there who might come in with the brightest ideas and the best intentions in the world, and they put him on the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Appropriations Committee where he has power and he starts to see that. And this happens over and over again. Look at these freshman senators getting appointed to very powerful positions in Congress right away, right out of the door.
And they'll have a flip flop. So we do that where it's a democratically ran House and Senate, it's a Republican ran House and Senate, and they make it seem like that's a change. But the policies, especially go back to North Korea. You're telling me that the same group of people over almost 60 years that agree on absolutely nothing have all agreed on the policy in this one fucking country. Right? These people agree on absolutely nothing except that, we're at war with this country and we need the Senate appropriations, billions and billions of dollars to continue it. Right? So
banging the war drum again.
Yeah, they flip-flop back and forth as far as red is blue, but what they're paying for and what their policies are, they just don't change at all.
I would say again that if these congressmen were not receiving large amounts of money from corporations, that things would change overnight.
I agree. You have to get money
That's
out.
my message. I think that's the most important message, that it's the money that's causing the influence and the special interest in the corporation. Do you really think that anybody cares about Monsanto except the people that sat on their board and now have government office? Those people care, but the rest of the world doesn't. If they weren't receiving money from Monsanto, would they really be voting for Monsanto legislation that benefits Monsanto? The answer would be no. Money.
No,
10,000, 6,000.
like they're not going to get elected. Like these people will do absolutely anything. They're scum, right? They will do absolutely anything to get elected,
including the right
or
thing.
remain in office. So as soon as it seems like, look, if you don't quit blowing Monsanto, right? If you don't quit blowing the fossil fuels industry, we're not going to vote you into office anymore. They'll change their policies. But right now we kind of have like a we don't, we care, but we don't care, policy. We're upset when something finally is in black and white and they're signing the papers, but all the way up to that point, we act like we don't hear it.
Right. Well, somebody in the comments made a really good point, and that the voting process is very few people have any confidence left in voting. And a big reason of that is your lobbyists. The second reason of that, and my biggest dispute, even about putting someone honest in office, is if you even put an honest person in office with good intentions, once they are there, for them to get anything done, they almost have to become crooked. If you go into your small communities and you say you need a road fixed, okay, you're going to have to and they won't give you the money, or they'll go to you and say, I'll tell you what, I'll vote for yours, you vote for mine. Well, what do you need? Oh, I want to spray the fields with chemicals. But if you want my vote, you're going to have to, if you want to fix your roads for your town, you're going to have to allow me to poison my people. And if not, you're not going to get it. And knowing people in politics and people who went into politics after Occupy, that's exactly how it works. It's you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and it's almost like you have to sell your soul just to do a good deed.
Well,
And that's the key word, almost. If you guys look at Hawaii's Congressman, Tulsi Gabbard, she's very outspoken. She's anti-intervention in Syria. She is everything we believe in, Tulsi Gabbard. And she is like a shining star. I'm trying to find more. I'm doing Flush Congress -1 right now in the meantime. It's that bad. But it's very
Congress
encouraging
-1,
that
I
there's
like
somebody.
Well,
That's about where I'm at.
And in Wisconsin, we've got Bob Harlow that's running for governor. Like, we do have people that are in the right mindset and in the right places. But number one, we have to support them, and number two, look, our opponents are extremely well connected, are extremely well organized, and will work together for the benefit of their profits of what they have envisioned for the future. We need to do the same fucking thing, right? We have to be more organized. You're telling me you can't be more organized than these guys.
Oh, you know what the hard part is? We have to compromise 10 times more than they ever will with our peers. We have to compromise way more.
I was going to bring that up.
How much do we have to compromise to say, look, I think everybody, whether you're male or female, in America should be paid a working wage in the same amount? Like, where do you have to compromise for that? I would like you to not pollute our waterways and not spray weird shit over our families. Where is the compromise in that?
Well, there probably wouldn't have to be a compromise on those issues if we didn't have to argue if those issues were even happening. I mean, even right now, like the people, look at these people that were in Berkeley that are, women have equal rights and shit. And then their idea of hitting a woman in the face is that's equal rights. There you go. There's a fucking equal rights right there.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's not like I would have really look, and we talked about this before. I'm a hypocrite, right? If they would have been the opposite direction, I probably would have reacted different. But the deal is, look, she's standing there, right? It would be different if she jumped over the thing and then you knocked her out. But you jumped over the thing to pop somebody that wasn't even fucking looking. At what point does that mean equal rights? That's like a sucker punch. But
these are the same people that are saying that women are getting paid equal in the workforce. That they do have equal rights, that they do have equal advancement opportunities.
Come on.
That's right. Yeah, but if she posts on Facebook that she wants Nazi scalps, that's okay, right? Because you're a leftist?
I mean, it was a reference to Inglourious Bastards. We all know that she didn't go with a knife and was literally trying to scalp people.
Right. Yeah, we know that, yeah.
Yeah, if you scalp a Nazi, that's unfortunate. I'm just not, but I'm sorry, guys. I told you I'm completely hypocritical when it comes to this issue, and that I don't mind if my side stomps you. But if you hit one of ours, that's a different story, right? I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Look, I don't cry at night for the German soldiers that were good guys that died in World War II. Fuck them, right? You're a Nazi.
True that.
So the fact that a Nazi
that's not the point I was really trying to get at it with, but I was trying to make the point that there's a large group of people out there that believe that women do have equal rights. And they're not willing to acknowledge that they don't have as much of a chance to make it in the corporate world as a man does, that they're not going to get paid as much, and that they're still going to be looked at as the lady that needs to, be in there cleaning your dishes and vacuuming your house and cooking your food.
You guys,
how many of these people
still
crack the joke? What do you do when your dishwasher's broken? Slap the bitch. I mean, that right there should tell you that we haven't made it that far.
Yeah, it's 100%. But the same group of people that seem, they deny that women have a head go. Pretty much everybody has an equal chance except for them, right? The only difference between our side is we're saying, we're all getting fucked over. You should really look into this. But there's certain times police brutality doesn't exist. The fossil fuels industry isn't polluting your environment. There's no chemtrails. Your government isn't poisoning you. There's people that are going to deny the world that are right in front of them.
Right, but Terrence, I want to bring that full circle about how this all of our rants got started. What are the solutions, though?
I don't think everybody's ready to hear the solution.
Well, some of it has to do with people will follow strength as well. If you want people to follow you, win.
right? Those same guys, they follow strength. That's why they voted for Trump. Not any other reason was the illusion of strength. If you seem like you're going to win, if you seem like you're going to kick some ass, they will follow for your side because they're sheep. That's what they do. Those are the people that you can seem like you're a strong person and tell them to go die in another country. They will fight for ideals that they have no connection to because they will follow strength.
Okay,
So
but
that's
what do
something.
you say? But what do you say? And I think a lot of us have probably gotten this question. What do you say to the people out there who believe what we believe in, but they're sitting at home and they say, "Look, I got bills to pay. I cannot go out and camp out in, let's say, the Dakotas or D.C. or Denver or L.A. or Seattle. I can't camp out there and do what needs to be done because I have bills to pay." What do you
Look,
say
this
to
is
these
2000.
people?
Well, I say to those
I agree.
people that if we overthrow the entire system, you're not going to have any of those bills to worry about.
This is look. This is
That's a
Well, but
2017,
People
right?
these days think we need the system.
You
That's the
don't
problem.
have to come and camp out for 2 weeks. Like there's people that are going to be at those places, right, and doing that. But you can support what's going on around you just by hitting the share button, right?
Well,
Just
that's
by
what I'm talking about. Well, that's where I was going with this,
there's
Terrence.
a million
Is to
different ways
give.
for you to support the revolution besides going out and protesting. Besides,
Well, that was where I was going with this.
Take your bank and move it somewhere.
Right. That's where I was going with this. We have 6,500 viewers, okay, and to those viewers who are sitting there saying, "I can't do this," that's why I'm going back to what are the solutions, and whether it be on flushing Congress, whether it's a revolution, I think that we should do exactly what you're saying, Terrence. Like you said, it's just sometimes it's as simple as a share button. And that's why I wanted to throw out a panel. And if one at a time, just everybody say, really, what can the average person do who does work 9 to 5, who has 3 kids, who has bills to pay? What can they do?
Yeah, I would say just everything from making a post to protesting to putting a "fuck the system" bumper sticker on your car. Right? Everybody can. That's how this works. Is that they're not able to squash any one part of something that we're doing. And social media is a whole new ball game. They don't even know how to use it yet. The fact that somebody took a picture of a grocery getter minivan with a "fuck the system" picture, a bumper sticker on the back of it that gets 10 million shares, changed more minds than us going out and protesting for 2 weeks, right? But then on the same note, us going and protesting and holding somewhere in another spot for 2 weeks could have way more of a benefit than those, than that bumper sticker. We have to hit them with absolutely, positively everything. If you're a musician, make a song. If you're an artist, right, start drawing. If you're, on social media, start sharing. If you're like protesting, then start protesting. If you like whipping rocks through bank fucking windows, then go out and do that. Hit them with everything.
That's more my style.
Right, I was liking the way that
That's what I'm
sounded.
saying. So everybody go down the list. Ed, but how about you? What is your suggestion? Go down the list, man. I'm going to go right down the list here. Ed and
Somebody's dog is so mad.
Arthur, you're up next, so get prepared, brother.
I can't barely hear. I heard Arthur. We got an angry dog in the background. That's all I can hear.
All right. Well, I mean, Terrence covered a lot of it. That's why I said, the next person. So give everybody ideas. I'm sure we haven't covered them all by any stretch. So, what are some of the other ideas that to get out there? Hugo, Ed, Eddie.
I mean, you could farm your own foods. You could go simple like
There you
that
go.
and just do some original shit.
I'm a big-
Get back to your roots. You can,
I'm a big supporter.
Cyber end. You can go cyber end even on your computer if one is so technically inclined.
If you guys, there was these things back during World War II, right? For people that were in cities, because there was such a food crisis and us having to, produce for the war, right? There were things that were called victory gardens, right? And every community, every house would have what was called a little victory garden, something out of your window that grew a couple of tomatoes, that grew
a micro garden deal.
Yeah, something even small. And no, it doesn't take away from you having to getting, a lot of your groceries from the store, but it does offset it. Now you're growing your own food. You're not supporting that system. But that was part of being a patriot back in the day. We can argue about growing hemp too. We go back a little bit farther. But right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of being, you know, of being free is growing your own food. So I'm gonna put that gardening, that growing your own food up at the top. That's probably one of the biggest things that you can do, and not
They've been
buy
manipulating
Roundup.
seeds though. Yeah,
And I
they've
like
been.
what I believe it's Selman Gore. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. Said in there something that one of my personal favorites is use your spiritual energy also. And Terrence, I'm sure you saw that you were being at DAFL throughout Dakotas. You know, you can use your spiritual energy. You can use your positive energy. You know, when during the day on your social media or even the people you meet. You know, I'm covered in tattoos and I smile at everybody. Doesn't matter. And for me, I hope it breaks down the barriers of saying, "Oh, look at that freak covered in tattoos." Not that tattoos are freakish anymore, since 75% of the population have them.
Right.
But,
It's kind of a normal now.
Right, but on social media, even wake up with a smile because there might be that one person who's ready to give up the fight, and you're just like, "Hey, good morning. Let's have a great morning, fuckers."
Right. Some of the most judgmental people go to church. Some of the nicest people have tattoos.
That's one of my favorite memes, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. In all of our movements, now we're not talking. There's lots of atheists that are in this movement, and that is totally part of it. I see no difference in you looking up and being in awe about the science of the working of the universe than you looking up in awe and feeling that that there's a spiritual energy in it. To me, there's no difference. Right, but it was something that was definitely lacking. Not a spiritual, and we're telling you who God is in a religious aspect, or we're telling you what to view. But there is that connection that we all have an energy, and that we're all working for the benefit of the future of our planet. And there is a good energy and a good spiritualism that is involved in that without being exclusive, without telling everybody, hey, you're wrong. It's something that was missing from our movements, whether that be Occupy, whether that be and Anonymous was already doing some of that, in how we viewed the energies to the planet. But Standing Rock kind of ignited the spark in that, continued to spread out of it, where you can look at somebody and be like, hey, you know what, you're Muslim, I'm Christian, but let's stop the pollution of the planet. Right? That's just
right.
Really,
focus your energy.
Right, and that's exactly,
that.
Terrence. I mean, and that was very well said. So, Selman, thanks for bringing that up in the comments and in the chat, because the spiritual energy is undervalued anymore, and again, you have no idea the effect and that you can have on another person by encouraging them to go on one more day, to encourage them to continue, the fight for whether it's peace or clean air, clean water.
Or just one nice gesture to pass it forward,
Exactly. Pay it forward, man. I think that's one thing that, everybody should work on and continue. And that has a lot more very powerful effects. So that is, definitely something that you can do is just smile. It's really, and who can tell me at their workplace, I don't care if you work 9 to 5, smile. That's it. You're gonna see somebody along the way. If you work by yourself, if you're leaving work, you stop at Dunkin' Donuts or, God forbid, Starbucks to get your morning coffee, evening coffee. Smile at the person. That's how.
Right, you might make that guy's day.
There you go.
Just because you smiled at him.
It's that simple to create a positive revolution. And I'm not gonna say it's a spiritual revolution, but
this isn't. We were talking about this isn't a conspiracy. Facebook went through and deliberately posted negative, altered people's news feeds to see on the emotional effect it would have on you by what they posted. Now, this was
that's technically that conspiracy now. I think the word to admit is theory.
No, they came out and admitted it. We can post the thing. This wasn't a hidden deal, and they apologized for it. That they should have notified the people, but it was an operation. And what they learned from it is that they really can, by what people are seeing on social media, what you're hearing in the mainstream media, can affect how people feel. When nothing but shit is around you, you feel shitty. Right? So going out and deliberately doing the exact opposite has the exact opposite effect. That if you go out and deliberately, hey, look,
even when I'm having a bad day and somebody asks me what's going on, I answer them with, "It's a good day for a revolution." Right? That sticks in your mind for a minute. Fuck yeah, it's a good day for a revolution. Right? So you have to make a point sometimes to be positive, even if it's positive in a direction. That we're being positive for the goal of keeping our spirits up, to keeping our side's morale up, because they'd like to keep us as beaten down as possible.
Right, and if I can even add something onto that, since you brought up the whole thing of social media, Terrence, in that, if you see a post you like, you have to remember how the algorithms work. Like that post, emoticon that post, and even comment, even if it's just a dot. And share it. If you don't feel like sharing it, comment underneath it. Because
yes, that is important, because the Facebook has a certain percentage of engagement it's looking for on its initial share to a small group of your friends list. And once it surpasses that level of engagement, it will then push it out to a broader level.
Exactly.
So that is very important.
And that's
comment,
where I was going with that.
Share.
Yeah, like, share, and comment, because if it made you smile, if you comment, it's not going to get lost. Even in your groups, if you see something you like in a group and you heart it, just comment underneath it. It doesn't have to be anything. You put a letter underneath it, because what that will do is that's going to bring that post back up to the top of the feed. It's going to keep, if Suzanne or Hugo has something, I almost always comment if it's something I really like. And it might just be a heart. Hugo does the same thing.
I do the same thing. I'll put the word nice or sweet or wonderful or great article.
Because
anything.
I put truth and then the little
There you go.
Hashtag.
symbol.
Exactly. But the more you comment, the more that is going to reach other people, because it's going to get past the algorithm, as Ed was explaining, to reach a certain level of people. And so that's something I think we all forget, and we end up, in feeds. A troll will post something absolutely ridiculous, like, kill all people, whatever. And 300 people will comment under that post, and if you look under that post, there's 10 great posts that are being completely ignored because everyone's commenting under the trolls. And that's why we say, don't engage the trolls. It's not just...
Don't feed the trolls.
Right, we're not even saying, it's not even just to feed them just to give them attention. It's a feed. If you ignore them, their feeds drop to the bottom, okay? And they're not going to be seen. If there's a post you like and you want other people to see it and you can't share it, all you have to do is comment. Like you said, truth, a heart symbol, namaste, whatever floats your boat. Type dildos, I don't that's very common under my post from one person. But I'm grateful for that. Dildo. Even if it's just dildos, I'm grateful because that person, believe it or not, actually believes in the post, which is why they comment, and they just want other people to see it. And that's just
So we're going to talk about Kenyon now? Oh.
Take a pause.
Kidding.
Well, my favorite of the friend request from still like 2 friends, 1 picture, account open 2 days ago. Like, I cannot believe you're still trying this after years. I don't think I've ever accepted a friend's request that the person had 2 people, had 2 friends in 1 picture.
Well, you never friend requested a hot chicken or only posters on there as "come see me play with myself"?
Yeah, come on.
Those ones are legit, right? Those ones are legit.
That's gotta be legit.
I will say I've gotten a lot of requests from those lately, and they do have a mutual friend, and it's fucking Daniel Lousy.
Daniel, stop playing with yourself so much if you're listening to this episode. You can go to Pornhub, dude.
Yeah, I've been seeing in the last 2 weeks just a string of those cam girls and offsite fishing. Not fishing, but linking ones to different things. I've been seeing a string of them for the last 2 weeks.
Well, I did figure out a way to get rid of them. If you actually go through your suggested friends, and you delete every single one of them, mine stopped for months. I started getting them again, but I do go through
exactly.
my friends.
I'm gonna give that a try.
I start deleting all naked women on my, requested friends.
It's just like if you knew anything about me, you'd know that was not the way in. You know what I mean? Like, if they knew me at all, there would be like a picture of you like hucking
Reading a book.
cocktail at something, and you're like, oh hey, how you doing? Right? Like
Hey, they're just wearing you down, dude. Sooner or later, you're going to capitulate and give in. I know. They're going to keep trying.
I mean, they
Delete
couldn't try a female like reading a book, or like some girl like digging in the dirt like planting a vegetable.
Yeah,
like that's hot.
But they think we are. I don't know, man. It drives it makes no sense that you went through all of that work and thought that was gonna be effective.
Yeah, only to have your account, nuked the next day by Facebook administration, right?
There you go.
Well, because you're the only 19-year-old on Earth that doesn't have Facebook yet.
But yeah, so
like it's statistically impossible.
So there, you guys have some really good tips, out there. Who else has some advice on, what they can do for the average person? Because a lot of us on the panel right now, at least that I know well, we're all very devoted. We're all very passionate, and most of us spend our time doing, whether it be researching, whether it's creating information, sharing information. What's for the person who does, like I said, work 9 to 5? What are some other suggestions that they can do besides, your bumper stickers, smiling, liking things, sharing, etc.? What are some of the things you guys did when you first started out?
Me?
Any of you? Yeah, Tyler, go for it, man. You've been quiet tonight.
supporting alt media.
I mean, with me, when I first got involved, it wasn't sharing media. I didn't even know what Anonymous was about. I got involved in a major operation, and how should I say? I mean, should I even like talk about this stuff on the air?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like we've been doing this.
No censorship.
Doing this for a long time.
Yeah, don't incriminate yourself, Tyler. Make up the name of the op. It was Op Love, and you gave 3 hugs. And
there we go.
Op Fed Love.
I mean, the question is, what can't you do?
I supported alt media.
Unfortunately, some people aren't as creative as others, and there are people. I've definitely run into people. I mean, you can't tell me you haven't gotten the question. I'm a stay-at-home, or I'm a working mother, single mother of 3. I don't have time to do this. What can I do? You can tell me nobody's gotten that question. I mean, we might know the answers, but if we're trying to awaken people, I think this is very important that we give them the simplest things, like a smile or a bumper
little
sticker.
emergency bags.
Like,
you can put together like a little, Dollar Tree bag.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how far you want. We need people to be as dedicated as possible. So I mean, we would, I'm not discrediting anybody, but maybe there are going to be sacrifices. You have to give to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you do work a 9 to 5, and I mean, we've all worked hard. We've all worked 9 to 5s. Like we've all played that game, and that is more than respectable. But look, when it comes to makeup care packages,
little toothbrushes, toothpaste.
We could sit for decades and invent stuff. I mean, we could sit for decades in trying to figure out exactly all that you can do.
Do you want to expand? Do you want to expand on that? Actually, the little care packages for the people who don't know what that is. You can get a Ziploc bag and put a pair of socks in it.
Yeah,
My
gloves.
suggestion for something like this is, those mismatched socks that one always gets lost in the dryer. Put those mismatched socks, and rather than throw them away, donate those to the homeless, because that's one of the things they don't do. What you can do is ball them up. You see a homeless person on the street, hand him a pair of socks. Have a little Ziploc bag.
Well, and we take a percentage of a lot of things. So in our household, when you go and do your shopping, you get those and you're buying your deodorant, you'll get those ones that are like 3-packs. You get you got the 2 of them and you get 1 extra, right? We're the people that can do that. We try to go through tampons and toiletries are definitely top on our list of things to collect
non-perishables,
care packages. But we take that, the extra thing that we get, so you get that extra bar of soap, you get the extra, the extra toilet papers, whatever it is, and we turn those into care packages, and you don't really notice it.
But yet that can make, especially for a lot of the people out there that are homeless, that can make a huge difference. Being able to clean yourself up real quick and deal with people means you can get a job, or you feel the confidence to go in and go to the hospital or go in and talk to somebody. Those things can make a really big difference. We have to hit it on both the micro and macro scale. If you're a grandma and you're making and you want to know what you can do, right? There's people out there that are protesting. Make us beanies, Water for Life beanies. There is nothing that you can't do to help fight the system.
At one point, I was even suggesting, and a lot of people, won't agree with this, is doing anti-propaganda artwork and, putting it in public places.
Yeah.
I think it's actually considered illegal to feed the homeless, actually, now that I think about it. In my state.
Did they
tell me
not?
about that.
If you want to
So give them socks then, Arthur. But that's
Right,
when
right,
direct
right.
to my page, it says pretty clear there, I do not give a fuck.
Shit.
Like, my plan is to feed. There is nothing that
Fuck
makes
yeah, right?
them
No,
more
I feed
angry
them.
than feeding
You
the hungry than feeding the homeless, and I will do that
Lock me
every
up for it.
single
Go
fucking
ahead.
time.
I'll wear that orange jumpsuit all day.
Yeah, tell me I can't. I'll organize 1,000 people to do it across 1,000 cities. I do not give a fuck.
Now that's a plan. Everybody says feed the homeless. Do you realize when we did the big feeds in Canada that most of the people that came to them, were not even homeless. They were just hungry.
Yeah.
There were people on a stipend. There were people on a
They
check.
afford their own
It was the
meals.
end of the month.
Yeah,
They couldn't afford food.
Fine. People have made that argument before, and they'll say that with some of our socialized programs. Oh well, don't you know that there'll be? Yeah, man. There's one person that might not have deserved it. For the 1,000 people that we fed, it was worth
That
it.
isn't my point. My point is they're fucking hungry. Feed them.
Yeah,
I don't care if they're homeless or not.
Exactly.
Maybe it's the end of the month. Their
That's
check
how
was
we
run
do
out.
it here.
Right to feed.
Look,
We do every Friday,
Exactly.
and it's just called.
Gave you a stipend of food because they realize that nobody benefits from hungry people.
If you don't got the time to go out, you also have like little local food banks, stuff like that. You can just drop off your food and stuff.
We had a
Has everybody downloaded Chef 90? Like, we developed an app to do nothing but distribute food to the poor. I don't know if you guys know who Chef Arnold was in Florida, 5-star rated chef that kept on getting arrested in Florida for feeding the homeless on Sundays.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Okay, on his 90th birthday, we came out with an application called Chef 90. And basically, if you've got a sandwich, you've got a couple of apples, at the end of the day, and you own a mom and pop restaurant, if, you went out of your way to make up sandwiches, you got pizzas left over, whatever, you post it on there, somebody that knows where there's kids or is going to do something or knows people that need food, come and pick it up and take it to where it needs to go. Or if you're walking by to your job, right, you can pick up the couple of apples and take it to the kids. If you're hungry, you can stop by and get it, so that we can keep distributing food without being centralized. It had a little bit of a boost here being used in South America over the last couple of months, but it's just one idea. Come up with 1,000 better ones, but if you're not using it, download Chef 90. I mean, if somebody has, 10 loaves of bread and 10, and 10 things of sandwich meat, go pick it up and make some fucking sandwiches. And you type in what city you're in, it figures out what city you're in, what places, food is the closest to you. You can drop it off to homeless shelters. You can do whatever you want, but it gets us to distribute it to where it needs to go.
And is there where can people go to get this app?
It's on Android and it's on the iTunes store and on the Google store.
Okay, is it a free app or is it
Everything that we make is free. If you guys aren't on the Support the Revolution website, all of our apps are on there.
All right, guys, hear that? The Support the Revolution website. The app is available on your Android and your iOS system. So again, there's really no excuse you can't do. You can't get out and at least help in that manner. Tyler had a great idea. If you're an artist, make your. We used to make fanzines back in the day and just pass them out randomly with anti-propaganda artwork. You know,
Even a good old
Occupy-
fashioned anarchy sign.
Yeah,
Well,
the
we
Occupy
were even
can
talking
be-
about, even doing the spray and pray. You do. A lot of people aren't big fans of that, but I'm just like, you know what? If people see it and it works, then do it.
Yeah.
Terrence,
You know,
during
stencil
Occupy,
arts.
we had fanzines. I'm not sure what Occupy you're at, but we had fanzines floating around Occupy to keep everybody up to date. Since internet connection was poor there, so you know, there's so many different ways. The solutions. Another way is if you're sitting there at your lunch break and you're going through social media, you know, write your congressman, as Hugo stated, and give him a piece of your mind.
Call them. Look, and it's another one of those times where we live in a really weird moment. Go on and post on their Twitter accounts, right?
Or
Call
troll
them
them.
out. I post on Trump's page all the time. Anytime he comes out and tweets something stupid, right? I get back on there, but there's never been a time in history where you can walk up and just be like, nah. And you
Yeah, I
know,
think that's
look, he looks at it. You know, he looks at it.
Hugo and I were talking about the other day. That's his new favorite hobby is trolling politicians. I think he.
Oh yeah, and it's so easy. I didn't tell you to get on and
I had
post
that
on
idea.
Twitter.
Wasn't I talking about that shit like 6 months ago? Like, hey guys, you know, we should really troll politicians on the internet.
Well, hell, like 3 years ago, me and Hugo used to light up the mainstream media, like any local, especially the local ones, because the big mainstream media ones, the comment sections get so overwhelmed, your shit's hardly going to get read. But like the local news stations, man, light those comment sections up with some truth. Like that's where the sheeple are at. Like that is taking the message and shoving it in their face. But because they're sheeple, you got to be nice about it, and you gotta do it in a way that's going to get through to them. Not, oh, your government's fucking you, and you know, come at them like Howard Bill or Alex Jones or something. You know, you gotta be chill and like really engage these people, and you can get through to people out there.
I don't know. I really wish Alex Jones hadn't been bought off by the elite or whatever happened, brain slugs, whatever they did to him. God, he was on
brain slugs.
I don't know exactly how
He's
they
a
got
paid
him.
shill.
He was on such a if you guys go back and look at his old stuff, he does an interview with David Duke, right? And he tears him apart. It's great to see. And then, you know, 10 years later, he's on whatever he's on now. I don't know what happened. He's like a totally different person.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, like I've been saying it for a while. There's a real good possibility Alex Jones has a really bad drug problem. You know,
You're right, Tyler. It's either that or he's developed a big time mental problem.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no, no!
I don't know what happened. He has lost it, and he gets heaps.
Yeah.
Like the more that he loses it, the more that they love him.
Well, you know, the symptoms that he displays, and you know, I was doing this working a professional field, you know, relapsing in front of my clients, is that you play this stuff off as though I got this or I got that. And, you know, when you in actuality, you're developing, you know, symptoms of complications from using stimulants long term.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. You know, I'm pretty sure the opiate epidemic that people, all of these talk show hosts seem to be involved in some sort of ring. If you look at
Rush Limbaugh,
and he
was
wasn't the only
oxycodone,
one.
right?
He's just, a lot of these guys all seem to have that same reaction to Vicodin, whatever they're on. If you notice, they all go through that personality change. Right now, those two people are a lot like each other. If you look at, you know, how they're screaming at the camera and, you know, they're red-faced and everything that's going on, that your body isn't reacting the way that it should, as far as like your adrenaline and why you're getting upset, all of that, they all seem to be part of this weird drug ring that they get these guys on. And like Rush Limbaugh was the other one but there's been like 20 other of them that get caught up in this. And I think Alex may be another one of those people. He seems, you know, you can see it in his change in personality.
Well, he claims to be a sex fiend now too. He had 150 women, according to him, before he was 16.
Oh, geez, you know, like,
do you believe that
honestly,
shit?
Like
Yeah,
when I saw
one of
Alex
those-
drawing the stuff when he was saying that, all of the stuff and how he justified it, how it was a walk through manhood and how he was shameful. Like the only thing I'm thinking in my head is like, this guy is really, really, really fucking high. You know?
Well, and come on, man. Okay, look. I'm not going to throw any numbers out here, but, you know, there are those of us that have done real well in the game. It's just not something you put out, you know what I mean, as your scorecard. If you say you've been with 150 women, man, I'd be lucky that you were with 10. I just, you know what I mean? It's one of the, like, you can't...
Well, if you do the math, you said that,
I'm going to buy... I don't think it's true. And come on, we've all seen Alex Jones. You weren't doing all that well, homie. Come on.
He ain't that good looking.
Yeah, like, come on.
He got into Bohemian Grove though.
They were just throwing themselves at your door. I don't believe you.
365.
You know, those
right
right-wing, no sex before marriage girls they're just constantly throwing themselves at you.
Catholic girls.
Yeah, come on. What were you whispering in their ear?
So he had to have a new girlfriend or been with a new girl having sex, hypothetically, if he was having chicks by the time he was 12 to 16. So he had to have a new girlfriend every 7.3 days.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit, man. Come on, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. It's
all right.
yeah.
All right. I'm gonna bring it back here and come off of our talk show host being on drugs, not us. I'm sober. Tyler's sober. The rest of you do one. But Barbara actually remind me of something that I do common. That thank you, Barbara, for this, because she's peace and love like I am, and I've met her through Anonymous Bites Back. And writing in the sand. I've always lived at the beach. As everybody knows, I was in Kauai up until about 2 weeks ago, and I moved back to another beach town to be with my wife. And writing in the sand. And I did this, did a huge big love thing out of the stuff coming out of the ocean or digging in the sand. And what that reminded me of is something we did last year during the winter is Jess and I would go around. We have things of chalk. And we just wrote "op love" everywhere, and got just so people look into it and see what the hashtag is, and just remind people to love one another. So if you're not into spray painting, chalk writing is still not a misdemeanor.
Stickers.
Stickers is another one. If you're
Slap
not
and
into
go.
tagging and all that stuff, you can always get a message out there. And chalking, writing in the sand, are other great methods to just getting your message out, no matter what the message is. If it's fuck the system, then the hashtag fuck the system. If you're anonymous and you want to put anonymous, say anonymous. Flush Congress.
I like to put little golden faces around. I have a little cutout.
It's one of those, especially if you're part of a movement that isn't focused on one thing, like you said, the Anonymous, the Occupy, no more wars, just writing peace or love on top of something. This has the same effect that the advertising that they use has. So when you drive by a billboard that says, "Are you depressed? Do you need," you know what I mean? When you drive by,
I am now.
when you drive by a place somewhere that says, you know what I mean, love your brother, right? Or, you know what I mean? Whatever it is when you pass by, you know what I mean? Peace, whatever you pass by, it has that same effect.
Exactly.
That sits in your mind.
Exactly.
So,
and that's why I said, I had that video where it's me in the middle of the highway, stopping traffic, writing "op love," because the reason I chose where I chose, regardless of my own safety, was to get the message out because I knew how the traffic that was there and how many people would be like, "What did that say, love?" And hopefully they look at their partner and remember they love their partner. Hope they look at the person sitting in the street with nowhere to go and be like, "Oh yeah, that's another human. I love that person. Maybe I should do something nice for them and just say hi to them." And that's another thing you can do for the homeless is, Hugo, you might want to expand on that because you've had a great experience with that. It's just talking to them.
With which now? The last part?
Just talking to the homeless, dude.
Oh, God, I did more than talk with them. I lived with them for almost 3 years. But the interesting thing is, what I learned is that for each and every single person that's homeless, they've got their own story. And some of them are so compelling. Some of the people that you didn't think could put two words together turn out to be the most lucid, amazing people. That being said, I mean, I don't even really know where to go with that. It has more to do with.
Kind of what I'm saying though is that a lot of people say, you know what, I can't spare $1. I don't have $1 on me. I don't have any change on me. I don't have socks with me. I don't have a little gift bag. But what do you think the power of talking to the homeless was? Just giving them.
Well, I can tell you what. Just acknowledging people.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging that they exist and that somebody cares about them. I've had a few interesting things. I don't want to make you guys all cry, so I won't go into any details. But I'm serious.
We do.
I had a guy.
Oh, go ahead.
I was a janitor. I was a janitor at a hotel there in Lexington when I was living there just recently. And I walk in, and there's a homeless guy, and it's kind of an issue with other people. The homeless come in there, clean up, use the bathroom, steal a roll of toilet paper, and then go out for the day. Well, anyway, there's a guy in there, and I caught him a couple times, and he would be cleaning up after himself. And I caught him the next, and I said, I really appreciate you. He says, why is that? I says, I can see you're not only cleaning up where you washed your face but you wiped everything down. I said, that's just so rare anymore that people have, that type of sensibility for other people. They care about other people. He says, oh, I've got to. He says, by the way, I used to have this job. And he says, life hasn't been, I made some bad decisions, but I'm trying to get it back. I said, listen, I just want to tell you one thing today. I really appreciate who you are and what you're about. I just wanted you to know I care about you. Give him a big hug. I swear to God, I got tears in my eyes now. But the guy's gregarious. He wasn't asking me for anything.
Yeah.
But he was doing his part, and I just get a kick out of it. Those are the type of interactions that occur that were nothing changed hands, no money, no nothing. Wasn't asking for food, wasn't asking for anything. But to preserve his dignity, I could have said, you're not allowed in here. You're not a patron of the hotel. That could have been the other side of that. But see, I would never do that. My thing is my life was better the rest of that day. It still is because of that interaction. And it wasn't patronizing. I really did appreciate him for more than just cleaning up because I see that fire in his eyes and smile on his face, So that's why we do the work we do out on the street. That's the reward part of it, And that's what drives me anyway.
New Zealand, and our Wellington, it does not have a huge homeless problem. It's very small scale. So we're able to, we buy burgers on Wednesdays. We all go out and pretty much just throw them around, right, to the place. We'll buy like 150 of them. But I make sure to always sit down and eat and talk with everybody's there. And over, they've told me the exact same thing. That the hardest part about this life is that people see you as invisible. At first, you're down on your luck, but when they walk by, they don't look away from you. They look through you. And I've heard over and over how disheartening that is, where, look, I'm not, even if you're out asking for, spare change, you can say no, or I don't have it, or, anything, sorry, brother, when you walk by, but don't act like I don't exist.
Right,
don't act like I'm some sort of ghost. I'm still an actual person that's down on my luck. And like I said, over and over, I've heard the same thing, that it's the thing that bothers people most is becoming invisible. People don't look at you, they look through you.
Right, and I think we can sum that up with one word, and that's give compassion to one another. And we're going to change topics a little bit here real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, Terrence. But for those of you listening, Samuel, I think you'll be of interest to this. You want to start tagging some people and bringing them in and sharing this out.
Yeah, we definitely want to share the shit out of this,
In about 10
ASAP.
minutes, we have a very special guest coming on. Hugo, thanks for being on. I'm just sad you can't stick around for this, but we will be having Barrett Brown's lawyer, Jay Lederman, joining us to share, hopefully, with what is going on with Barrett Brown as much as he can share. Hopefully give us some answers, as well as maybe what we can do to encourage what we can and should not be doing in order to ensure his release and his safety and his well-being. So I know for me, this is incredibly special to have him on here and get it from, closest thing we can other than, the Barrett himself. So we will be going in to that in, I guess, about 8 minutes now. So again, like, as Ed so elegantly said, share the shit out of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna step out so that I can actually do that. So give me, if we've got about 8 minutes, I'm gonna just mute myself and go kind of share happy, see if we can get our numbers up.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm on right now.
All right, yeah. So I'm
I'll
not
throw some
saying,
shares
you
around.
guys feel free to keep to keep talking, but I want to make sure we get as much of a voice out as possible tonight.
I hate having this looking on this stupid thing. I'll be back.
I'm not terribly familiar with Hangouts, guys. How do I send an invitation? I'm not familiar with it at
Just
all.
go to the
For Hangouts
page
or for
on
the show?
Facebook,
If you're
and
just
from the
sharing the show,
Facebook page, just share it from there.
notifications,
Yeah,
Okay,
here.
gotcha.
you're basically going to have to mute Hangouts, go to your Facebook, go to Anonymous Bites Back, go to the episode, copy the link. Well, first you can share it to your page by just pushing share. Copy the link and just start blasting it in groups.
Here, I'll share a post I just typed up
Yeah, unfortunately, if you don't have a script, you can only
into the Hangout. You can copy it from the Hangout and share that. It's got the link and everything.
Oh, sweet.
Doing it now.
But if
Thanks,
you don't
guys.
but if you don't have a script, Preston, I don't recommend sharing over 25 times from one single profile because Facebook
Right.
will usually come at you about 25 to 35, depending on their mood. But anyhow, so to go back to this, like I said, I feel honored to have Jay Lederman on, and so while everybody else is sharing that topic, Tyler, where do you want to go with this? Since everybody else is sharing, brother, Preston.
Oh, sorry. I lost the connection. I don't even know what you guys said in the last 3 minutes.
Oh, we were just talking about the Jay Lederman coming on, and please share this. It's things along those lines. So
Yeah, we're waiting for him to come in the chat room. This is really cool.
Right?
It really is. It's very special, man. To get it
Yeah, it's
from,
beyond cool.
It's oh Hugo, you're gonna stick around for this?
I was going to go to Pornhub, but you know, I canceled my appointment at Pornhub. I'm here.
I had a feeling you could be suckered in once you heard the announcement. So, hey, it's
Oh,
always
I got
fun,
like
man.
9 million messages, but they can wait.
There you go. Yeah, they can wait, and I know we're up all night anyhow, Hugo, doing what we do. So that's not going anywhere, man.
Right. Hell, since we started early, I'll probably put an extra hour or two on the show. Start up a second feed when this one caps out.
Well, if you can, if Tyler can actually do a double stream and just slide right over to it.
Oh, I'm in the car right now. I'm not broadcasting from the car, but I'm in the car right now.
You're in your car a lot, Tyler.
Do the show from the car.
But yeah. So while we're waiting for Jay, what suggestions? And what I saw at Dapple also is even writing on dirty cars. Terrence was really cool. How Terrence is sharing right now. But there's a dirty, filthy car. And you can't do art like that Russian guy. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely amazing. Write your stuff on the curb. Write on your dirty car. If you support No Dapple, put No Dapple hashtag on it, and just spread the message.
Messages on money. That is, man, those things go around.
Ed, Operation Lion Cash.
No, I'm not familiar with that one, but I mean, I can.
2009, where we started writing on money.
Okay, see, we've done campaigns with that for, I mean, so much. So it's been a long time since we've actually done that. But
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'll tell you what. Every time I hand one of those off to someone, they take it and they're reading what's on that dollar before they put it in their pocket or put it in the register at the store. Every time.
That's another great suggestion. Write on money, and if it's end the Fed. No matter what your message is. I believe
this
Jay
dollar
is
that-
here. So I believe Jay is in the chat now. We just got to get him to come online with us. So if somebody wants to walk him through that while we work on getting Jay in here. But he has entered. Just a matter of having him connect with us, and we'll go from there. But like Ed was saying, writing on cash is a great way to get your message out. Regardless. Again,
It's saying the call is full.
All right.
Hold on.
Tyler, you
I'll
have
bounce
two
for
of
you.
them.
I got this. I'm
Yeah,
not talking
Wait,
anyways.
Arthur.
What?
Instead
What's
of you
up?
bouncing, I can just get off if you want, because I'm not talking that much anyways, because, I just gotta get used to it. But you can stay on and I'll get off, okay?
All right, cool.
Alright. I'm gonna be watching on my phone, so yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining.
Peace.
Yeah, have a good one, man. So I guess I'm staying. So what are we talking about?
Well, we're getting Jay in right now. Jay is,
okay.
we just had a full thing. Now, Tyler, you do have two open, and
Yeah, I'm going there right now to turn it off.
and Ed does have two open also, just in case. We
Well,
also
yeah,
have
I've got one that I'm connected to, and the one that's being used for streaming the show.
Well, there's actually somebody else in the chat who doesn't visit often, and maybe he'll come on the air also. All right, looks like he joined us.
Hey guys, it's Jay.
Hi, Jay. Welcome. My name is Puck, and you want to introduce yourself and tell us what tell us why you're here, and thank you for joining us.
My name's Jay Liederman. I'm a lawyer out of California. I've been a friend of Barrett Brown's a long time, and as I understand, you may have been talking about already, Barrett got arrested early this morning for, I don't know, acts of journalism.
It's definitely what it sounds like.
Yeah, could everybody mute their mics, please, and give Jay the floor with no feedback, please? All right, Jay, it's all yours.
Okay, so let me thank you. So let me kind of take you through what was going on. Barrett's been doing, well, first of all, going back to when he was in BOP custody, he did a column called the Barrett Brown Review of Arts and Letters and Prison. And he did that, and, there was no problem, and he won the National Magazine Award for that, the best magazine column in the world. He won. And when he got out, Alex Winter, who's a independent filmmaker, did I forgot the name of the film, but he did a 17-minute long film of Barrett leaving prison and on the way to the halfway house. And there was another I think there was another PBS film, because PBS comes into play in just a minute, but PBS did a sit down with him where he talked about, a little bit about his plans, what was in his future and his experiences with the BOP, by the way, Bureau of Prisons, and how that, played into all of that. So he also did an interview last week with Vice News. And a couple days ago, now it's not BOP, it was his halfway house, and his counselor told him that he would need to get prior authorization to do any more media interviews. And Barrett said, whoa, that's not part of my conditions, that's not part of the plans, that's not in anything I'm aware of. And he asked to see the manual, there's a BOP manual for just about everything, and there would be one that would shed light on this particular situation. So when I spoke to him yesterday, he let me know all about it. He let me know that they wouldn't produce a manual, and said that he couldn't do any more media interviews unless he signed off and got prior approval to do it, which in legal part, restraint on speech, and Barrett was very keyed into that. So there's not a lot of attorney-client stuff I couldn't talk about in that conversation yesterday, because it all came out in the wash today. I mean, he was we know exactly what happened. His mom sent an email this morning, and it was about identical to our conversation. It was, people, and what's going on here, because they're trying to silence me. Well, flash forward about 14, 16 hours or so from our call, and I get, a message from he's been arrested, for presumptive journalism, and he did not do that. So I said PBS back in to do with PBS that he was set to do. He didn't even do it. Conclusion that we can draw, because BOP isn't talking, and he's back in the Federal Correctional Institute in Seagoville, which is where he was being held for all of his pretrial detention. The only reasonable conclusion is that because he failed to sign this sheet giving them media interviews immediately, that they rolled him up and are going to try to violate the terms of his supervised release.
Now, do you want to, if I may interrupt Jay real quick, do you want to address the actual letter they gave him that wasn't even, that was actually released for media, not even for a condition of the release? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I not very intelligently, and here's why. I did see it in the email that his mom sent around, but that wasn't something that he had described to me yesterday, and I haven't seen the actual document. Although, Barrett's mom is very, she's really on top of this stuff, and I would expect that he actually showed it to her. So I would expect that to be a true fact, which makes this all, I mean, I don't even want to use the word bizarre. I mean, it's just freaking Twilight Zone. It's like way past bizarre. It's just way past bizarre. Well, what I was going to say before, just real quick, was I used the term supervised release. That's what the feds call it. It's the same as like probation, parole, whatever. So I'll try to use those interchangeably so that people kind of can follow along. But yeah, so that's my understanding. Without having heard it directly from Barrett, that's my understanding, is that this was like a media release. So if someone wanted to come with him, now I don't know if they were telling him that all media had to get that signed before they can talk to him, and had to get it cleared with the halfway house, but that's not, that's not that wasn't part of the deal, part of the plan. Nah.
Now, okay. Now, my other question would be, he was scheduled to be released May 25th before he got early release. Is it possible, without causing panic and without trying to, I guess, scare the masses, is there a possibility that there could be new charges, being that he, quote unquote, broke his probation?
Yeah, that's not really well, sure, they could always give him new charges, but it doesn't appear as though he's committed a new crime. Of course, last time he didn't commit a crime, and he ended up doing, getting sentenced to 63 months.
Exactly.
So anything's possible in the world of Barrett. But what you see here in these situations is, it's not a new crime. It's a violation of the terms of his supervised release or parole or whatever you want to think of it as. And it's not new charges, it's charged violations. And for that, they can put you in, for a certain amount of time. Now, his mom had thought he might be in until May. Someone, either she said it in the email or someone had told me that. It's been quite a long day with
right. I think D Magazine might have put that out in their most recent article on that. That's where that might have come from, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they're a real good source, because obviously Barrett was working for them, and he's been in real close contact with them. So if it's in D, that's something you can probably take to the bank. So, what the deal is then is that, there are federal guidelines, and each type of, violation is sort of worth something, right? Like, you throw a dirty test, for example, and that's worth, on the guideline scale, you look at your crime, you look at your whatever, and that's worth, 2 months. So I would think insubordination or failure to obey rules or something like that. What they're saying is maybe it's worth like a month or less. That's just my guess, having practiced federal law, but I don't, usually when my clients screw up, it's a lot, it's a lot. Hey, I'm not worried about a month. It's it's a new charge and all kinds of stuff. They searched his house or her house, and there's weapons and there's drugs, and we're not talking about a month. So that could be, but this is just ludicrous. He should hopefully see a magistrate tomorrow to arraign him. There should be a notice of charges, which will give the world some idea of what it is that he's done that qualifies for such treatment.
Okay. Now, not to again, just a conjecture. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you what you could want to feel what their objective is with this, what their thinking is behind this, without giving away too much, or
No,
it's
I
bizarre.
don't.
It is Twilight Zone. It's completely mind blowing, I think, to anyone who knows the story.
Right. No, it most certainly is. And I don't think I'm giving anything away to anybody when I say that this is clearly to silence Barrett. I've used the term over and over that voice, Barrett's writing, is a weapon of mass education. And, the powers that be don't like a voice of mass education, a weapon of mass education, someone that can sow dissent, reason with their logic and with their words, and that when you analyze, when you deconstruct his sentences, when you put thought into the things he says, it's really hard to look at his writing and say, this guy's crazy, he's off base, he's all of that. No, Barrett's got it right, and that's why and that's why we're seeing we're seeing this harsh treatment of him. This is a crackdown on dissent.
And it's been pretty apparent over the last couple of years, especially with journalists being arrested or being targeted to silence what they're showing or silence the stories. Most of the people in the last few days of the Standing Rock protests were focused directly on independent journalists and followed by having to go through the governor's office to apply to even be a journalist at Standing Rock. So they changed it from just having your license and working what it is, that you had to apply through the governor's office. And if you didn't get the paperwork from the governor's office, which is impossible, then they arrested you. The First Amendment is just out the window. It's just insane.
It is. Well, in reference to Standing Rock as well, there was, I don't know if anybody follows Inspire Bank Exits, but they were out there, and this was one of the last days when they were tearing down the main resistance camp. And the police there, they saw him, and they pointed him out of the crowd, and they called him out by name.
Yep.
And specifically charged at him, trying to arrest him. I believe he had a few rubber bullets shot at him in that situation. If not, he had been shot at a couple days beforehand.
Well, they specifically targeted journalists and medical staff, were their two top groups to attack. It's slowly, but you see this over and over and over again. The media blackouts in Syria, everywhere that they're telling you can't. They've been really attacking the journalists and not the corruption behind it or the reasons. There's a reason why it's stated in our Constitution, because we know that powerful agencies, government agencies, people that don't want the truth out will arrest you for telling the truth. That's why it's in there.
Well, do you think
And we've
that's
seen
and
that.
that's what I was gonna, and that's what I was going to go back to Jay. And Jay, you did reference that this is a blatant silence of the media. And what we were talking about before we were able to get in contact with and have you on, and again, thank you for being on.
My pleasure.
Is that maybe the government was afraid that he was going to discuss the Stratford hack, which we all know he was not part of, did not participate in, but that he may have discussed it since the details are public for anyone who's willing to look at them. Do you want to?
Yeah. No, I can. I think certainly that was that, and the other things that he was looking into on Project PM were making the private, the private CIA, FBI type industries. It was making them very uncomfortable, and that's certainly, as a matter of primacy, that was probably the factor that brought him in. But once he got in there, it became a matter of a discussion of BOP, the nation's federal prisons, and how they work and the problems associated with them. So I want to take off on 2 points you guys were making about DAPL, and I think they dovetail nicely into Barrett's situation in terms of a constitutional sense. So the first is this. It is very difficult to petition your government for a redress of grievances as guaranteed in the First Amendment. That's one of the clauses of the First Amendment, is that you have the right to do so, along with free press, free assembly, free religion. It's all these things lead to a right to petition your government for a redress of grievances. And I would ask you, it's a rhetorical question, but I would ask you, everyone out there listening, how do you do such a thing if your voice is silenced, if you're not given a journalism permit, like, by the governor, if you're not allowed to speak to the media, like Barrett wasn't, it's in the last few days of his freedom. That's point number one. And point number two is this, and someone discussed Syria and places like that, and that's really, it's worse than disallowing a petition for redress of grievances. And it's that scary things go on in dark places when the lights go out. And we have journalists to turn the lights on and to show us things in dark places that we wouldn't ordinarily be able to see. And with the silencing of that, and with the message being sent by prosecutions, of my client Matthew Keys, who was a journalist, and even Hammond, who brought all that to light so that Assange, but by brought all that to light, I mean Stratfor brought it to light so that Assange can publish it. He's aiding and abetting journalism is essentially what he's doing. And without Barrett's work in the prisons, letting us know how it was, how it worked, giving us a detailed blow by blow, the goal being that BOP changed their policies to more, or I should say to less Byzantine nonsense. If you read his column, it would be like, well, he was told to, send an appeal into this person. And he's like, great, where's the paperwork? Where can I get this? And they're like, oh, well, it was due 3 weeks ago. So, that was the type of stuff he was writing about. And, that goes back to, bad things happen in the dark. It's a situation where Barrett was shedding a light in the dark, and he was seeking to petition his government for a redress of grievances. And this is all one rich tapestry. This is one river flowing downstream. It's not, it's not a series of different things. This is exactly what Barrett has been doing for years, and they're silencing him again. And that is just what's so devastating. So
Well,
Twilight Zone.
I would have to say it always has the opposite effect. You know, anytime they try to silence one of these journalists, it turns into like, you know, we're talking about it on the live streams. It has, if your plan was to make it quiet, arresting him only made it worse. Now it's everywhere. People want to look into it and see why they're violating this man's rights to silence the truth.
Right. Right. You know, and now, you know, instead of whatever else you'd be talking about tonight, we're talking about this. And hopefully, you know, 100 or 1,000 people, you know, go to like at Free Barrett _ and I know Kevin has a lot of resources there and has it on the freebarrettbrown.org website where you can call his counselor. Let the phone ring off the hook for, you know, for days. You can write letters, but more than that, you know, you can let people know what's going on here. Don't just follow the accounts on social media, you know, retweet them, share the stories on Facebook. Let's get this around, because, you know, when the government seeks to turn out the lights, the only thing you can do is just everybody get a flashlight and everybody light it up.
Exactly.
Right, and you brought up some really good points, and I think it was Hugo. I know Hugo might have some questions. I feel Hugo might have some questions for you. But we were also saying earlier, you know, to contact Jeff Sessions because this is his district, and we shared the phone number of not only his DC office but his local office in Texas. So, you know, what else can activists do to bring awareness to really what's not only going on with Barrett but Assange, with Snowden?
Red Fawn.
With Red Fawn, without putting them in further jeopardy, which I think is always a fear for some activists, is not to hurt their cause, because we do believe in them.
You know, that's an interesting question. And, you know, probably the most important thing anyone can do is what I was talking about before, which is keeping it alive. And it's not just, you know, retweeting it, you know, kind of for your friends. It's reaching out to other journalists and reaching out especially to people that you wouldn't ordinarily think would get in contact with this type of information, with this type of situation, and get them interested in it. And, you know, social justice is a huge issue right now because, you know, we have, we have a situation where, you know, we could be losing treasured rights that we've had for, you know, for generations or, you know, longer. And, you know, things are getting cut back slowly and, you know, but definitely, and I'm not, you know, trying to make this a thing about the presidency. Obama wasn't fantastic about it. Bush was certainly very bad about it, but it's really been the Supreme Court that has, you know, since the 60s kind of been scaling back things slowly and steadily. So it is a social justice issue that really needs to have, you know, light shined upon it. So, you know, look, to the extent that you're in a town that has a friendly city council, you know, you go, they always have like one night a month, you know, or one meeting, whatever, where they'll hear from the general public. Go and talk about it. Go and say, hey, you know, there's this guy, Barrett Brown in Texas, and he's a journalist, and he's wrote a couple books, and he wrote for, like, you know, The Guardian and Vanity Fair and you know, other publications like that. He writes for The Intercept now, and this is what's happening with him. And, you know, maybe the city would like to think about, you know, passing a non-binding resolution and forwarding that to, you know, the BOP in Texas. And, you know, it may surprise some people that some of these towns may be willing to do it. And how many towns does it take for, you know, the Northern District of Texas to get non-binding resolutions from before they say, you know, from around the country before they say, I think, you know, this is a little much, and I think we're going to back off of this one and just let him spout out. Barrett is more dangerous incarcerated than he is out, and they have to recognize that at some point.
Well, I think that's absolutely what we need to think about is what we can do. And what we can do is shine a very bright light on this. This isn't just about Barrett, although this just reeks of revenge more than anything else, or you know,
Reprisals.
yes, exactly. What can we do? And I think at the local level, we can do stuff. At the national level, we can make our voice heard that this isn't just, maybe it starts with Barrett and it starts, but it could be Amy Goodman or it could be any other number of journalists tomorrow if they don't like what you're saying. And that was what we talked about earlier. I really appreciate your efforts in Barrett's. Let you speak again. I'm glad you filled in a lot of blanks that we spoke about earlier. Thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. You guys, thanks for doing the good work that you do.
Now, Jay, can you stick around because in case anybody else has any more questions? Because this is such an important topic, and you touched on something about how important it is to go to your city council meetings. And I think what can emphasize that point of view would be how many council members actually canceled them this past after the election, after the inauguration. They avoided their constituents because of exactly what you were speaking of, people voicing their concerns.
Yeah, interesting. I tell you what, yeah, I'll hang out. I'll hang out a couple more minutes to take, to take some questions. Be my pleasure.
From the comments, if we could get some just from the people that are listening, that'd be great.
I'm checking right now.
I mean, I'd like to put in, there's a reason why it's the First Amendment. Our founding fathers did not take these things lightly. They put freedom of the press #1 for a reason. And this goes into exactly those reasons.
There was, and some things that that people should remember, and a little bit of a history lesson I think everyone should know. That for its time and for its age, the best-selling book, both by per capita and in actual sales, was Common Sense. And everybody thinks about Common Sense, and they're like, oh, that was written by Thomas Paine, but that wasn't actually the case. In what was that? It was in either December of 1775 or January of 1776. It was actually published by an Englishman because it had to be anonymous speech, which is funny because our country's our country was spurred into revolution by essentially anonymous speech, and it was this idea that you weren't allowed to speak out against the government that was such a big deal. And people don't remember John Hancock or successful businessman John Hancock or Constitutional Convention member John Hancock. They remember his signature, and the reason that he put that signature on so big is because it was such an act of defiance to sign something that wasn't pre-approved as a statement, because you didn't have the rights under the king to speak out. And that's why they put that First Amendment, the freedom of press, freedom of religion, the ability to petition your government to redress grievances, and the ability to congregate. And when that falls under assault, as it has in recent years, you're contravening almost the entire purpose of America
and its foundation.
Right.
We were founded, which is what Terrence brought up. And
even if you look until the 80s, if you look at speaking out against the government in England, you couldn't even make Saturday Night Live style speeches or making fun of the king and queen. That's why throughout the 80s you see they always use puppets, because for some reason it was like a loophole. Puppets to make fun of or call out the queen, but you could not do it if we were just going to dress up and I would kind of act like or anything like that. That didn't change until the 80s. You could, they were still putting in people in jail from it, and it's something that seems unconceivable in America. until you look at kind of what we're coming to now, where even the Daily Show, where they were like, oh well, this isn't news. We need to shut it down. We need to do all of this to remove those First Amendment rights to be able to speak out against the only people that are trying to control your life like that.
No, and you're 100% correct on that, Terrence. And and Jay also is an attack on the First Amendment and what the country is founded on. And the biggest thing coming out of the comments, it looks like right now, Tyler, is people would like to know how is Barrett still? I know he was raising funds to pay his legal fees, justifiably so. And they're asking how can they donate to Barrett Brown to continue to help his case and his cause.
It's on the freebarrettbrown.org website.
And we should probably post that on in the comments here too, so people can just link to it.
Yeah, and if you didn't want to know more about their, I think the most recent update was the letter, the email from the mother that his Barrett Brown's mother that she's been passing around. Also gives you a little even background on the assault on free speech that he's gone through. Some of his writing, which we did talk about earlier, with its satire yet truth, and he was not afraid, as Hugo stated, to call people out by their names. But I guess my question is, are we jeopardizing him by doing this? By not necessarily supporting him, but by having people make their voices heard, Jay? In your opinion, anyhow.
No, well, my opinion's no, but I took a look actually just not very long ago, and it's either on the freebarrettbrown.org website, or it's on Kevin's Twitter account, which is at freebarrett_. And one of them gave a phone number for the counselor who won't give any information, and said, call and ask why Barrett's, in custody. And I would say everyone should just give a call.
I can
call after
any
call.
of these cases, the more outrage, the more involvement, the more people that are speaking out about it, the better. They would like to squash it, that they put him in jail, we forget about it. He's so scared that they're going to lock him up, that he quits talking. That's exactly what they want. Where our goal is, look, if you put him in prison, if you arrest one of our own, then we're going to be so loud about it that you can't ignore it. And it has the effect that we want. Then they're scared to arrest one of our journalists because they can't get away with it. I'd say you'd be hard up with any of these issues. They would like to squash it and nobody notice. That's the point of a media blackout. That's
right.
the point of trying to silence one of these guys. So anytime they tell you to be quiet, you need to be as loud as possible.
All right, so to all the listeners, as Jay was saying, as Terrence has been saying, to reiterate, make your voice heard, folks. Get on Twitter, contact whether it be Jeff Sessions, whether it be the counselors, whether it be the BOP. Make your voices heard. Share his story. Share his arrest. Tyler, are there any other questions from the comments before we can?
Let me see.
Hey, the only thing I would say about calls is don't be, calling the feds and be making threats. That's the thing that would work against you.
No.
Don't be stupid.
There's a difference between call, respect, or tell them exactly, what what you feel they're violating. That's the kind of outrage that we're talking about. Calling and making a threat gets us nowhere. It's the CIA and FBI. They've been threatened before. They don't care.
All right, Jay. Well, that's true, but we don't get anywhere, with anger and with threats. Where we do get somewhere is people calling up and saying, listen, why'd you do this to Barrett? This doesn't make any sense. You're my government. Please explain to me why you're using our taxpayer funds in this manner. And, the point of the matter is that either they can't or they won't. And so far, it's been an issue if they won't, and ultimately maybe it'll be an issue if they can't. And quite frankly, come tomorrow afternoon, Dallas time, maybe they don't file charges, and maybe they just dismiss him, and maybe he gets a change in his order where he will have to get prior authorization, and then we can go to the courts and fight that with him out of custody. But shining our lights, which is our metaphor for this, tonight, shining our lights is the way to do it, and going crazy isn't going to help anyone. Let's keep our heads about us, and shine a big light on all of this. And don't be afraid to tag people that powerful people that you think may care. Reach out to your congressman, reach out to your senator, and write something brief that shows, or use Karen Barrett's mom, use her email as a guide, short, succinct, that lets them know what happened here, and that you want to know why this is happening and why people won't get involved.
Right now, and Jay, we know you've had a very long day today, very trying day, and we do appreciate you. Is there anything you'd like to end this note on, to share with everybody, the panel, and anybody who's going to hear this and is listening presently, before we let you go?
Fight the power.
There you go. Beautiful.
Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us and giving a voice to what's going on. Everything you're doing as well. We need all the help we can get, and lawyers are a huge part of that. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
you
it's my
a bad rap, but I would like to say also thank you, Jay, for joining us. It was an honor. And if you could stay in touch with any updates, that would be greatly appreciated. So that we can continue to get the message out. We'd love to have you back anytime.
It'd be my pleasure. Anytime. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. I'm not sure much time we have left. Anybody have a watch on the time here?
We have a half an hour. I got a special request from one of our regulars because he can't get on today. He wanted me to update you guys. He's our boy from Belgium, and he was saying that Op May Day is May 1st, and then they're having Ops Stop NATO Brussels in Belgium May 24th. Let me see what's happening on May 26th.
I think it's Enrico. Enrico, thank you for getting Belgium together. I know you and I discussed this the other day. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was Layla or who we were discussing it with, but awesome job getting Belgium May Day going. And you are still working on getting Kashmir, I believe, on for the next show as soon as possible.
We're trying. We're having in Kashmir. He's been our guy's been telling us that they shut down even the 2G connection, so that the only kind of connection they have is like basic cellular texting and calling capabilities. So. Yeah,
that might be that
situations like this when we have, we really have to. I'll put it on our website too. But we made mobile boosters. We really need to have like a satellite that we can send around to hotspots like this.
Well, Terrence, do you want to share your website again for everybody who doesn't follow you?
It's www.supporttherevolution.org.
And Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, they're all the same. Support the Revolution or STR.
Okay, now we were also now a few of us were talking about building servers to get out, especially to the warmer countries.
Well, what we were doing at Standing Rock was using a mobile satellite system and then just kind of, putting a router on it, and a little battery, and a solar cell. We can do wind or solar, but then anywhere that they go, they've got a mobile high-speed uplink to live stream. And these are the same systems that if you want to be, if you were hiking in Antarctica and you wanted to be able to live stream, you could do it with one of these. But we need to start sending them out to geographic locations, so when something like this happens and they start shutting down the internet and the media, we can live stream directly out of it.
All right, so you're actually not. Are you piggybacking off the satellites?
Well, no, you buy it's just a satellite hub.
Okay. Would you want to discuss that a little bit? I mean, we have a half hour, Terrence, and we do have a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
places that we're bolting.
There's a
Venezuela is
couple
having
of
a
there's
problem
two
getting
ways
out.
that we did it. There's two ways that we did it at Standing Rock, and I will give an anonymous shout out to a corporation that should not be named that sent us some that sent us some equipment and some expertise. But we set up from the Verizon satellite or the Verizon cell tower. We set up one system, and that used the hotspots, the Verizon hotspots, a router, a 24-hour battery inverter setup, and a cell phone booster. And with that, we were able to get about 50,000 meters around. So the entire camp on mobile cell phone boosters. So that's how everybody was able to live stream at Standing Rock. Now, as a backup for emergencies, you saw when they raided us, all of our live streams had, boom, issues. So as the backup, another group of people, Circlos and Fidel, had set up a mobile satellite system, which is a little mobile satellite hub that we did the same thing, kind of put it in a little box, put a battery on it that, you know, would go for 24 hours or so. And when that went down, we flipped the switch for that, which had the same routers and everything, and everybody was able to reconnect and live stream out. Now, we've used a very similar system in Palestine and Syria recently, but we would like to, you know, anywhere where shit's going down, we want to have a direct line for the people to see what's happening, right? No filters, no corporate bullshit, no nothing, cell phone, live stream, this is what's happening, right? Is our plan. With what's going on with our boys there, we need to get one of those systems to him so that he can live stream high def what's going on the ground, even if it's only a couple of minutes over, you know, every day or every couple of days. I don't like media blackouts, guys. I don't like them.
It's illegal, unconstitutional behavior by the government. That's what it is.
Yeah. Anytime they're telling you shouldn't be looking at it, you should be looking at it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only things that they do hide. If it wasn't dirty, then why are you hiding it? You know, use the same words that they use against us, right? That's what they say. Hey, if you weren't doing anything wrong, why you were going to execute me in the street in front of my kids, right? If you weren't doing anything wrong, why do you care that I want to see, right? If these wars are everything that you say they are, why can't we see them, right? If these are such horrible, bad people that we have to carpet bomb, that I got to spend billions of dollars to murder, right? Let me talk to them. You obviously can't talk to them. Our thing with North Korea, look, if you want to undermine a authoritarian government that isn't letting their people see the rest of the world, don't carpet bomb them. Send them cell phones with internet connection. Right? Let them see how the rest of the world. That's how you undermine an authoritarian government, not by bombing them. That's what they want.
Right. Well, I think that you undermine the government by using your voice.
Or giving others a voice. Like, that's really what we're doing here. Like,
right,
look, I'm
not
fucking important.
Right, and
But
not only doing that for years. You know, going back to Arab Spring, getting them back on Turkey most recently, as well as DAPL.
Off Gabon, where they censored the internet there as well.
Right. And you're right. It is giving a voice to the people and the people using that voice to speak out, so we can see the darkness. Thank you. For you know, see the what's going on in the darkness, that people are afraid of, and the best thing, you know, everybody else can do is if you're not, let's say, tech savvy, is to make sure when they're posting about the atrocities, whether it be Yemen, Kashmir, Venezuela, that you're getting that message out. And you know what? You might lose some friends who say, why do you care about this, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? You're caring about humanity, and you have to follow your heart and your passion. Because for me, speaking from experience, when I don't follow my heart is when I don't sleep at night, not when I lose someone who yells at me for posting too many political posts or too many starving children pictures.
Well, and my thing is, look, if the situations are reversed, right? The kid that's starving in another country, the person that's shackled to a machine making iPods and Nike shoes, right? Those people, they can't speak out. They have no voice. They're being crushed. They're working as slaves, right? I would hope that if the situation was reversed, somebody that could speak out, right? Somebody that was on the other side of the world that could do something about it would fight for me. You know, that would be the only solace that I have, in the hopes that there's somebody that I'm making this product for that's going to, you know, try to, you know, get me out of the hell that I'm in, right? If you look at it's the iPod plant that has, you know, anti-suicide nets. Look, the person that thinks they have no choice but to jump off the top, right? They need someone to fight for them. And that's, you know, what I try to be. That's
right.
What,
so yeah,
at it, not what I try to be, but who I, you know, how I look at it.
Right, and I think that's vital that we remember we are the voice of the voiceless, because we do, especially in the States, we still do have even if it is a limited voice, even if it is a suppressed voice, we still have one of the greatest voices in the world, whether we like it or not. And so, you know, strive to be the voice of the voiceless, because as Terrence was saying, you know, if the situation was reversed, and you know, if Terrence, God forbid, got locked up, I hope, you know, that all of us would stand up and fight for him. Same with Tyler, same with Preston, Ed, you know, any freedom fighter, whether you call yourself anonymous, whether you call yourself a patriot, 3%, or whatever label you want to put on yourself, be a voice for the voiceless, regardless of what you call yourself.
Yeah, I agree. That's some truth.
So, but that was, you know, that's some great stuff. And, you know, you know, how to go back to getting communications out. I think it's important that, you know, you do expand your circle, everyone, to, you know, reach out to people in Venezuela, reach out to the people in Greece. And, you know, if you're anonymous, just type in Greece anonymous, and I guarantee you'll meet 1, 2, 3 people. Portugal, Spain, Poland. I mean, anonymous and freedom fighters are everywhere. They're on freedom fighters on every continent. And, you know, go out your comfort circle. And, you know, I know people get, you know, complain and whine that, oh, this person has so many followers, they're an ego fag. No, you know what? They're trying to connect. They're trying to make a difference. And I suggest, you know, go through people's friends list. And if you see a whole bunch of people tagged, and this person tags you a lot and you enjoy, friend those people. Send a friend request to them. Search out into other countries. You know, and there's language translators, so it's not like language barrier is really a huge issue. I know a lot of us Americans are very ignorant when it comes to other languages.
But a lot of these issues like aren't even broken down by language. You know, when you'll look on and see like anonymous memes, or you'll see just anything that's going down, half the time they are in English. They're just, you know, when you look at the picture, you can pretty much tell what being screwed over by the corporate looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Police brutality looks the same no matter what country it is. It doesn't need a language to
usually has a black boot.
it. Yeah.
Now you're dead on, man, and that's right. You know, suppression, police brutality, it looks the same, and it's happening everywhere. So, you know, it's not just about you and where you live. It is national, and we do need to reach out and try and reach as many people as we can. And in my opinion, we are still presently in phase 1, going into phase 2, and phase 1 to me is still awakening. And we see it happening on a mass level, which is why only 49% of the Americans voted this year, and why Trump won, because people are seeing the corruption. They just didn't realize that they didn't want to realize, I guess, that Trump was just as corrupt as the rest, not to make it a Trump bashing thing.
And look, we didn't feel the same. I can tell you this. We didn't feel the same way about Obama either. You know, we elected him on hope and change and the future of what America could be, not for you to immediately bail out the banks and start carpet bombing Syria, right? So, you know, that is part of it. Part of the you know, the voting process and in picking a leader is that you have a hope that he's not still part, or he or she is not still part of that same corrupt system. But unfortunately, they always turn out to be.
Right, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. It starts at the smaller levels, which is what Jay was talking about, and what
It's one of those things. It'll seem like it'll never change, and then the very next day it will change. Trust me. When we were kicking up in their doors in the French Revolution, the day before, they felt that this would never change. That's the difference between progress and revolution. Revolution is right now what progress says we can do in 20 years.
Well, yeah, dead on, dead on. So, you know, and the revolution is now. The revolution is happening. You know, you do see a lot of people talking about when's the revolution going to come. I have a message for you. It's already here.
Yeah, look out your window. It's going down.
Yeah, man, everywhere. And it's going to continue to go down. So, you know, join the revolution. And I was just talking to Mark in a different chat, and I'm sorry, I just love what Jay closed with, man. And to hear a lawyer just say, you know, fuck the system.
Yeah.
You know, how much more of a revolutionary does it get?
That's like the first time I've ever heard a lawyer say that. Honestly, I don't.
That was cool
You
as
know,
fuck.
if it was, yeah, it's like, you know, small number, 2 or 3.
Yeah, my lawyer used to tell me some shit,
and
you know,
put
just,
them to work.
my lawyer used to tell me just, in the courtroom, he'd always tell me to shut the fuck up because you're gonna say something that's gonna get you in trouble.
There you go. So yeah, that was badass, man, and that was definitely inspiring, and I hope it inspires some of the people listening. And there's so many different ways to fuck the system too. You can fuck the system by loving one another, because you have to understand again, and I've said this a million times, and I will continue to reiterate it, that the system doesn't know how to fight love, man. They don't. They only know violence, because that's how it happens. But when you saw this at Standing Rock, man, they look at the backlash that Standing Rock received with violence, people practicing in prayer and practicing in love, man.
Yeah, they have no idea. Look, violence they know, right? That's their whole system is set up on violence.
Yep.
That they're a one-trick pony. As soon as you use anything else, they have no idea how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they came in full riot gear with machine guns, and you know what I mean? Like, the amount of shit that they came, because they have no idea how to deal with this at all. If one of us came and shot, you know, shooting at them or something like that, fuck, they knew how to deal with that, right? But they have no idea how to deal with people saying, we just don't want to build a pipeline. But don't you want to shoot at us? No, not really. I think you're probably a good guy if you weren't being a dick right now.
But you even saw that with the media manipulation of it. They threw snowballs at us. You know, that was a great spin. You know, they threw snowballs at us. That's why we needed to, you know,
shoot them with 39mm rubber shells.
Yeah, when they were filling out the paper, right? And they were like, "Oh, well, what do you need this SWAT sniper team for?" Snowballs, sir. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, oh yeah, that night that shit went down.
November 20th.
Yes, that was also, I believe, when they brought out the water cannons, and they also almost blew off that lady's arm.
Yeah. Look, snowballs.
Yeah,
the
that
ones
was snowballs.
Yeah.
I
mean, honestly, like if you're the officer, I really, you know, hope you feel like a piece of shit for the rest of your life for throwing a fucking, you know, a flashbang onto somebody.
Well, I hope so.
I mean, honestly, you know, if they're listening, you know, you really are a piece of shit. You know,
well, everybody has a dual personality, and I think no matter what, that one day he's going to have to explain that to somebody, and he'll probably be in therapy for the rest of his life trying to justify that to himself for feeding his children. But my point with the fuck the system is, you know, is what, and Terrence and Tyler and we're all talking about, is that there's so many different ways to do it. And again, going back to Jay and going back to Bear Brown, is and somebody said, you know, when you call, remember, they understand anger. They can hang up on you because, oh, they were angry, okay? But when you talk to them in a calm, intelligent manner, their brain, you got to understand how their brain works. Their brain is scrambling. How can I get off this phone call? They haven't cursed. They haven't called me names. They're being polite. They're saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, or directing me by my name. And you have to understand, that's how a person thinks. So they don't understand compassion, kindness, peacefulness. because
And if you're one of those people that does have, a lot of background and a lot of skill where you can argue constitutional law and all of those things, record the call. We've had several real successes in that they've called some of these offices and had a debate with these people and just completely smashed them. And then, the video or the audio that gets shared is you tearing apart, why these people are trying to take away your First Amendment rights. If we're pissed about Second Amendment, we got to be pissed about First Amendment. Like all of the amendments we should be upset about, like the entire thing. We should never be signing away our rights for what? And a lot of security thing, but when it comes to your First Amendment rights, there is no security out. You're never any safer by losing your First Amendment right.
no, you certainly aren't, and they're being taken away little by little, regardless of where you look, which is why this case and so many other cases are relevant. He brought up Keys, which is another great case about a hacker who, again, got more time than a rapist. If you haven't looked into that, it's just an absolute disgrace. But in closing the show, what other ways besides, being nice and kind, and what other ways, are we fucking the system, that you can do without jeopardizing, let's say, your freedom to not be behind bars? Anybody? What's some ways that you guys exercise, fucking the system?
Man, I'm not the one to talk because all the ways I do it get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know.
Just start. The tags on your mattress that says "Don't rip them off." Start there, and then anything above that is really up to you.
You mean going out there
No,
and protesting? Whether it means what I think Terrence, you were talking about it. As divesting in the major banks, whatever you can do to fuck the system, do it.
I mean, our number one thing is to make connections with each other and organize. Organization is the key. Look, they can always silence one or two of us. They can't silence. There is 7 billion. As soon as we realize that fact, 1,000 people cannot silence 7 billion people. Right? And as soon as we make that last connection, when all 7 billion of us are all like, look, we can argue about religion and whether the earth ever, let's just stop polluting it and stop murdering each other, and then we can argue about these other things. When we finally come to that conclusion, right, there is no silencing that movement, not with 1,000 people. And that's what we're dealing with. The people that are screwing us up are less than, it's the 1% of the 1%, 1,000, 2,000 people all together. There are 7 billion of us. Organize.
That's right. Yeah, it continues to get the word out. That's the more you network and can get it out there, you keep it alive. If it goes dark, it's over.
Yeah, once they can put, the stories, the people, a movement behind them, they do. That's why they go through. And this isn't cheap for them to do, right? It costs billions of dollars to even attempt to silence us. And you can look at the world around you. It's extremely ineffective for the amount that they spend on it.
Yeah, and you brought that up earlier, in that the reason. And I like using DAPL as a reference point because it is recent, at least for the United States. The reason DAPL took off so well was because of the peaceful resistance that occurred there. They really couldn't justify their actions. And what we have to remember is that's a great way, the money they spent on that they're now trying to get in the taxpayers, that's going to piss the taxpayers off.
Oh, and that's just what's in like the police department. So we've got, a couple, probably around, when you put everything together, probably around $60 to $70 million spent in just that little bit of time. And I'm pretty sure that some of those bigger organizations, FBI, CIA, NSA, or whatever, those aren't included into those numbers. I've got a sneaking suspicion. Right?
I think you're right on that.
But on top of that, we've divested, we're starting to get up to what, 15, 20 billion dollars? That is not a win, right? When you finally put things, and you're already at $20 billion deficit and going up, right? People aren't putting their money back into Dapple. It's only going in one direction. Like they're slowly leaking billions of dollars every couple of months. Our guys in San Francisco, I don't know if you saw our action 2 days ago.
I did.
We met the board meeting in Florida. A whole bunch of the board members out at the same time. Divest San Francisco. San Francisco's about to take out their money, and I mean I think that's another couple of $1 billion, whatever you wanna. Every amount makes me. If $10 comes out of Dapple, it put a smile on my face. So divest in these companies that do not have our best interests in mind. Same with Monsanto. There is no reason for anybody to invest in Monsanto. Touching a company that's invested in any of that, just take your money out, put it somewhere else. Find a credit union. They're nice, right? Good people.
Yeah, we talked about.
I would like them to start at some of these credit unions. If anybody has any connections in the banking industry, a small credit union, I would like to start water protector accounts for people that want to move. So that there's some benefits to moving to your credit union. Look, take the idea and go fucking nuts with it. Make activist account, do whatever you want, right? I don't care as long as it gets done. But so that there's some incentives for people to move to credit unions that are going to focus on the people and just the banking stuff that you need done. That don't need to invest in giant polluting evil corporations to make money.
Right.
Right.
There's plenty of companies out there who are thinking about the future, who are thinking about the environment, who are thinking about children, who are not interested in profits and profits only, but they are more interested in growing to the greater good. And we discussed this yesterday, and you made a great point with divesting and also boycotting, Wells Fargo, boycotting Israel as a greater level, and the temper tantrum Israel through people in the UK were threatened for boycotting Israel. So
yeah, they were trying to pass a law in New York as well that you couldn't choose which companies I want to buy from. That's no.
Exactly. So for if you don't think boycotting makes a difference, that's one thing that actually didn't come up with Fuck the System. That's another example. Divesting, boycotting. These
That's
companies.
a huge part, and why we're just now figuring that out, I don't know, but we're just now figuring it out. We have a huge amount of power in where we put our money. They do own 60% of the wealth, but that 60% of that wealth only exists because we're willing to spend our 40%. Right, and we can choose whatever we want to spend our 40%. If we spend it if we quit buying the Nestle corporations anything, find another candy bar, find another drink, they'll change their policies. All of these companies will, or they'll go bankrupt.
Exactly. And that's, I think, one thing that people forget in fucking the system is boycotting is so simple. I put up last night, to go with what Jay was saying, is that we have to stop jumping on every media thing that happens and remember what else is going on in the world. So last night, I started putting up boycott Israel again, and someone said, "Oh, but it's so hard." Really, it's not. It's the same thing with Monsanto. You can go online and print a list of everything Monsanto is involved with, and when you're going grocery shopping, just don't pick their item. Same with Israel. You can print out the darn list, go to when you go to a grocery store, look and say, "Oh, this is made by Nestle. Okay, I'm not buying this. I'll buy this." Okay, and because money, really, what it comes down to, money is their bottom line. And that's
the only thing that they care about. And they proved that. That's if profit is all you care about, then thank you for giving me the one target that I need.
And we the people, that is our power. Besides our voice is our money. As Terrence stated, we have 40% of the incomes to choose how we spend it. So spend it wisely. Stopping at your Walmarts if you're, a humanitarian and you don't want to see children chained, making your clothes and your hats and your shoes for Nike, then stop buying them. because you stop buying them, they won't. You know, it's supply and demand. It's very simple.
Well, they'll just change their they will change their policy. Look,
Yes,
you'll
they
either
will.
change it. It's mind blowing because this is 2017. Look, if you can't do business without polluting our environment or slaving people out, you can't do business. Right? Like that shouldn't be, that's such a low bar to set, right? We're not talking about like being a good company or helping. If you cannot do business without pumping chemicals into our environment or slaving children out, you can't do business. I don't give a fuck what part of the globe it's on. You can't do that in the States. You can't do that in Malaysia.
Or
You can't do
flat
that in
Earth
China.
for all you
You
flat
can't
Earth
slave
people.
anybody out at all. Are we? Is
Preston's laughing.
Well, I heard you mention flat. I heard flat Earth.
Well, I don't want Terrence to offend all the flat earthers who may be listening right now. You know, so
I want to know if a flat earther and a hollow earther smack into each other, do we get donut Earth?
Well, I think my favorite meme going around right now is the Earth going across the sun as a frisbee. You know?
Yeah, we're just winging through space like a giant frisbee.
But I don't like the, we're not here to offend everybody. We're here to offend almost everybody but flat earthers. You know.
No, and honestly, if I have never, because I've listened to a lot of the, you know what I mean. I don't mind listening to the other side ad nauseum, right? I've looked through all the documentaries and all of that, and I have never been able from the flat Earth's perspective. And I've looked, like I said, I've looked on all of the documentaries. I've looked. It just, come on, guys, it just doesn't add up. It's a hard sell. What's on the bottom of the flat Earth? That's something I want somebody to answer right away. Or are we living on both sides?
Well, fair question. But I think you raise a very valid point though, in a couple things. But one of them is that you looked at both sides, and I was taught at a very young age that in order to form an opinion, you should know all sides of the equation. And so it's
Yeah, you should always try to look for the other person. There's some things that you come to an end, right? You can't look at Nazi ideology and say I can see it from your perspective. Like there's some perspectives that I can't look into the mind of a serial killer and see their perspective either. But when it comes to normal debate, when it comes to scientific debate, when it comes to the world around you, you should always try to look at the other person's side. Or you can't debate with them. If you don't, it makes it much easier to debate with somebody if you know where they're coming from.
Somebody speak. We got dead air here.